Chapter 3156. Oh, I didn't expect him to have the ambition of reaching the extreme realm. The gray-robed elder looked at Knight Sorrow in surprise when he heard Vice President Ji Xian's words. In his opinion, for Knight Sorrow, breaking through to the heavenly supreme level was obviously a more suitable goal. Setting his sights on the illusory Lemeter was a little too ambitious. At this moment, Vice President Ji Xian said, "He's not aiming too high, but setting a goal. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's wait and see." Then, the two of them continued to look at Knight Sorrow and Su Lei. They wanted to wait for the final result of their battle. They knew that in the Mountain of Flames, cultivators would feel their surroundings getting hotter and hotter. No one could hold on forever. After the two of them observed for about 2 hours, Yi Shang and Su Lei's bodies both changed. To outsiders, the two of them looked like they were restless. It looked like they couldn't hold on any longer. However, they were both holding on. This Su Lei is indeed not simple. The burning of the Mountain of Flames is making me feel more and more uncomfortable. If not for the bet with her, I would have given up long ago. I didn't expect her to be able to hold on so long in such high temperatures. Knight Sorrow said slowly as he looked at Su Lei. At this moment, he was like a drowning pedestrian. He couldn't hold on at all and wanted to jump out of the water. However, Su Lei didn't give up. He kept holding on. "No matter what, we can't lose. If we lose, we'll lose the fate of the eternal supreme realm." Knowing that Knight Sorrow couldn't hold on any longer, Bai Mei Sanren immediately encouraged him. "I know, so I'm holding on. I just don't know what the consequences will be if we keep holding on. Will we all be incinerated?" Knight Sorrow, who was gritting his teeth and holding on, felt worse than having 10,000 arrows piercing his heart. However, he kept holding on and had no intention of giving up. "I don't think so. Since it's a test for the students of Lu Tian Academy, it shouldn't be so despairing." Yen Tianlai said slowly. Actually, he was a little envious of Knight Sorrow at this moment. After all, he hadn't advanced to Slaughter Academy in the end. However, when he thought of his identity in the Eternal Supreme World, he felt that the Slaughter Academy in the foggy area was no longer that important. It was no longer an obsession in his heart. "Yes. No matter what, I will continue to persevere." Knight Sorrow was left completely speechless after replying to the crowd once more. This was because his senses were becoming more and more uncomfortable. At this moment, he felt like an ordinary person who had entered a pool of molten red molten iron. That kind of feeling was already very frightening. At this moment, Su Lei was not much better. No matter how much the two elders in the space paradise encouraged her, she still felt like she could not bear it and wanted to give up. But at this time, she clenched her teeth and told herself, "Even if I'm burned to death, I can't be someone else's slave." This was her dignity as an emperor. "These two little fellows are pretty good. Just hold on a little longer and the two of them will surpass Lin Dongqing's score." After another 2 hours, Gusu Bi and Hassa Woman left the Mountain of Flames one after another. Knight Sorrow and Su Lei were still persevering. The gray-robed elder, who had seen their performance, nodded in satisfaction. He felt that he had indeed recruited 2 good seedlings this year. However, it was a little difficult for 2 tigers to live on the same mountain. They've persisted for so long. In my opinion, neither of them can afford to lose. They would rather be burned to ashes in the flames than compromise. Therefore, this competition is very likely to end in a draw. At this moment, the Vice Dean, Ji Xian, suddenly made his own judgment. He had already felt the determination of Knight Sorrow and Su Lei. He felt that even if they were to suffer more in the new era, they would not give up. Therefore, it was very likely that they would continue to drag this out. And Ji Xian's words came true. Another 6 hours passed. Although Knight Sorrow and Su Lei could no longer hold on mentally, they did not give up. Because neither of them could afford to lose. They would rather be burned to ashes than lose. Seeing this situation, the gray-robed elder said, "If they continue to drag this out, they won't break the record of the Mountain of Flames, right? Then they should be rewarded." "It's possible. If they can both break the record of the longest duration, it will really become a legend." Ji Xian smiled and nodded. He secretly thought that the people that Elder Su had his eyes on were indeed not ordinary. Another 10 hours passed. Knight Sorrow and Su Lei broke the record of the new students at the Mountain of Flames at the same time. And at this time, Night Sorrow and Su Lei both had a slight understanding. They had discovered the secret of the Mountain of Flames at the same time. As long as one's spirit could withstand the test, one's body would not be burned to ashes. Therefore, although the two of them were extremely uncomfortable, they continued to persevere. In the end, Night Sorrow even began to cultivate his physical body in this extremely uncomfortable environment. After cultivating for a few hours, he felt that the strength of his body had successfully been tempered to the intermediate level of a heavenly supreme. It was roughly equivalent to the level of a middle heavenly supreme. However, what really surprised Night Sorrow was that the Phoenix battle armor had continuously absorbed the essence of the flames. The Phoenix battle armor had completely sublimated in the flames and advanced to the level of a heavenly supreme. This was a huge surprise for Night Sorrow. However, at this time there was a problem. The Phoenix battle armor, which had advanced to the level of a heavenly supreme, would soon face a lightning tribulation. If Night Sorrow did not help, it would very likely be destroyed by the lightning tribulation. However, Night Sorrow could not give up on the battle. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow had an idea. He transmitted his voice to Su Lei. Su Lei, you and I both know that although the flames in front of us are getting more and more terrifying, they can't really threaten our bodies. Therefore, it's very difficult for us to determine the winner. Why don't we change the battle? What you said makes sense, but how do you want to change it? Su Lei replied to Night Sorrow. She knew that if she and Night Sorrow continued to fight like this, they would only be tortured together. Neither of them would give up. Let's see who can reach the top first. If neither of us can reach the top, then let's see who can reach a higher position. How about that? Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Su Lei. At this time, it was torture for both of them. He felt that Su Lei would not refuse. And the truth was so. After being tortured for so long, Su Lei felt that she was about to go crazy. She transmitted her voice to Night Sorrow. Okay. I promise you, we will change the rules. When will we go? Immediately. But after all, I am the one who changed the rules, so you go first, and then I will. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Su Lei. At this time, he had already stood up. I won't go easy on you because of this. Su Lei, who replied to Night Sorrow, did not hold back and directly climbed to the top of the mountain. She knew that this time between her and Night Sorrow, the winner would be decided very soon. Stealing Incense. Chapter 3157. The outcome of this matter meant a lot. She couldn't afford to lose. Night Sorrow, hurry up. But she won. Seeing Su Lei desperately climbing towards the peak, Bai Mei Sanren, who was in the space grotto heaven, immediately reminded him anxiously. Hearing this, Night Sorrow responded and then said, according to my observation, it's not that easy to reach the peak. Because the flames on top are much more powerful than here. It's not necessarily a good thing to rush up rashly. I choose to fight steadily and surely. So you already had a plan. But is this really reliable? Yen Tianlai, who was in the space grotto heaven, also spoke. He didn't understand Night Sorrow's choice. Just now, Su Lei and I fell into a state of wanting to win and being afraid of losing, causing our minds to become very impetuous. It's definitely not advisable to climb the mountain of flames with an impetuous state of mind. But I've already adjusted my state of mind. I shouldn't lose. Night Sorrow explained again and began to climb steadily. Because he didn't use all his strength, the distance between him and Su Lei grew larger and larger. Seeing this scene, Bai Mei Sanren and Yen Tianlai were not the only ones who were anxious. Even the gray-robed elder and vice principal Ji Xian, who were watching from the side, were puzzled. They didn't quite understand why Night Sorrow was climbing up so slowly. The gray-robed elder glanced at Vice Principal Ji Xian and said, has he given up, or does he have thoughts that we can't see through? This, I'm not too sure either. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have given up so easily. But his choice is really strange. Seeing Su Lei climb higher and higher, Vice Principal Ji Xian said. At this moment, his mind suddenly moved and he said, I understand. Night Demon judged that Su Lei would definitely not be able to reach the peak. He's prepared to use the most stable state of mind to reach the peak. Yes, it should be like this. I see. It seems that this Night Demon is really a person with great courage. Hearing Vice Principal Ji Xian say this, the gray-robed elder immediately praised. As for Night Sorrow's mood, He admired it from the bottom of his heart. At this time, the others who were watching the battle between Night Sorrow and Su Lei at the foot of the mountain could not see the situation clearly. Everyone, including Hassa Woman and Gusu B, was just watching the show. At this time, the gray-robed elder suddenly turned to look at them and said, "Pay more attention to the night demon. He is not simple." "Yes, elder." After Grey Robe finished speaking, everyone agreed, but they did not quite understand why he came to such a conclusion. Because from the looks of it, Su Lei was clearly closer to victory. If nothing unexpected happens, the night demon will win this battle. Seeing that everyone was confused, the gray-robed elder continued to explain. Vice Dean Ji Xian didn't say this out loud. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Vice School Head Ji Xian immediately agreed. And reality was also developing in this direction. Although Su Lei was far ahead, her state of mind was obviously very impetuous. After climbing for about an hour, she found it difficult to make any progress. On the other hand, Night Sorrow didn't seem to be moving very fast, but he was able to maintain a steady pace, causing the distance between them to decrease. "No! I can't let him catch up." Seeing that Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer, Su Lei's state of mind began to become even more impetuous. She burned her own blood and continued to rush upwards. However, as the height increased, she soon felt a flame that she couldn't withstand rushing towards her. Are these real flames, or are they the flames of an illusion? Facing the oncoming flames, Su Lei asked in confusion. A cultivator in her space grotto heaven immediately said, "According to my senses, these are real flames. They are different from the ones you were fighting just now. Looks like I have to go around these flames to continue going up." The flames in front of her were too fierce. Su Lei didn't have the confidence to break through at all. She immediately flew at the same height, looking for a way to continue going up. However, after searching for a while, she still couldn't find a suitable path. What was blocking his way were all extremely terrifying level 7 flames. At this time, Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer. She immediately shouted anxiously, "What should I do? I definitely can't lose this bet." "Don't be afraid. If you can't pass, he might not be able to pass either. Stay calm. Even if he catches up, it's not like there's no chance. After all, he's catching up bit by bit." Seeing that Su Lei's state of mind was a little unstable, the other person in the space grotto heaven immediately consoled her. "No. I can feel that it's already very difficult for me to win this bet. Because my state of mind is already in a mess. I've been focusing on the night devil behind me and haven't been able to reach the peak without any distracting thoughts." At this time, Su Lei said with some regret. Night Sorrow had been chasing from behind, which gave her a lot of pressure. Now it was too late. Sigh. Hearing Su Lei's words, the two people in the space grotto heaven both sighed. They knew that what Su Lei said made sense. However, the three of them didn't realize it just now. This might be the case of those closely involved unable to see clearly. At this time, Night Sorrow's body had an aura of bravery. He didn't fly at all. Instead, he climbed up step by step. Every step was very solid. With these solid steps, he approached Su Lei bit by bit. In the end, he successfully overtook her. After being overtaken by Night Sorrow, Su Lei completely collapsed. She knew that in this battle, she definitely didn't have the chance to turn defeat into victory. Because the two of them were very different in terms of state of mind, the intensity of the flames they encountered was also different. She flew very quickly and the attacks of the flames were also very strong. However, Night Sorrow was advancing step by step. After overtaking her, he continued to climb up with all his might. He had no intention of stopping at all. "You've already won. I can't get past these flames in front of me." Seeing Night Sorrow continue to climb up, Su Lei said helplessly. These words made her feel a strong sense of humiliation. When Night Sorrow heard this, he turned to look at her and said, "Go down and wait for me. I want to try and see if I can successfully reach the peak." As he spoke, Night Sorrow continued to climb up, step by step towards the top of the mountain. As the height increased, the heat that Night Sorrow felt naturally became stronger and stronger. However, he still didn't give up. At the same time, as the height increased, his state of mind also underwent some changes. He gradually understood that the path to the peak was a path of invincibility. With invincibility in his heart, he could climb. This night devil really has a chance to reach the peak. I should give him a certain amount of motivation. Seeing Night Sorrow continue to climb up and have no intention of stopping, Dean Ji suddenly said. Vice President Ji Xian suddenly shouted, "Go, Night Demon! If you can successfully reach the peak, the clone of the Emperor Slayer will come out to see you. He'll give you a reward." Stealing Incense. Chapter 3158. Emperor Destroyer's doppelganger is sleeping under the mountain of flames. If you successfully reach the top, you will awaken him. He will bring you endless rewards and unbelievable legacies. Good luck, Night Devil. After saying that, Deputy Dean Ji Xian felt that he was not specific enough, so he added another sentence. What? If I reach the top, Emperor Destroyer's doppelganger will appear? With his eyesight, I will most likely be exposed. I can't reach the top. I definitely can't reach the top. Hearing Deputy Dean Ji Xian's words, Night Sorrow felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His thoughts of reaching the top were immediately extinguished. He knew very well that even if Emperor Destroyer's doppelganger appeared, it was very likely that he would discover the secret of his identity. After all, life forms at that level could see things that people like them could not imagine. You're right. The legendary Emperor Destroyer is extremely talented. If he appears, it will be very difficult for our identities to be exposed immediately. Sensing the change in Night Sorrow's mentality, Ape Tianlai immediately transmitted his voice. Actually, he was as nervous as Night Sorrow. Facing a legendary expert like Emperor Destroyer, he was not mentally prepared at all. Don't worry, I definitely won't reach the top. No one is stupid enough to court death. After Ape Tianlai said that, Night Sorrow said that and gradually changed his pace. It seemed as if he was struggling to move forward. Hee. As expected, he can't reach the top. Seeing that Night Sorrow had slowed down his pace, some of the onlookers heaved a sigh of relief. They knew very well that if Night Sorrow could reach the top, they would all be completely overshadowed. There would be no chance for them to make a comeback. Because he had been trained by Emperor Destroyer for a period of time, his cultivation level, which was lower than others, would increase greatly in a short period of time. As for the gray-robed elder and Deputy Dean Ji Xian, they were both somewhat disappointed. They wanted to see Night Sorrow successfully reach the top. But they knew very well that although Night Sorrow's performance was outstanding, it seemed that he would not be able to reach the top. Because his condition was not right. And Night Sorrow did not disappoint their judgment. Not long after, he came down from the mountain of flames. At this moment, his Phoenix battle armor was already on his body. Before Night Sorrow could even speak to Su Lei, the lightning tribulation for the Phoenix armor had already arrived. Facing this kind of lightning tribulation, Night Sorrow naturally handled it with ease. Under the attention of everyone, he successfully passed through it. As for the Phoenix armor, it had become a heavenly sovereign level armor. Beginning with the Azure Phoenix, returning to the Azure Phoenix. From today onwards, you shall be known as the Azure Phoenix battle armor. After putting on the armor, Night Sorrow suddenly remembered Jing Yun, who had given him the armor, and immediately changed its name back. He recalled the Azure Phoenix battle armor. However, the current Azure Phoenix battle armor was also greenish-black in color, so it did fit the name. Night Demon, you have achieved a very good result today. Follow me later to receive your reward. Before that, you and Su Lei should first resolve the problem between you two. After Night Sorrow helped the Azure Phoenix battle armor overcome the lightning tribulation, the gray-robed elder immediately came to him. After that, the elder in gray robes led the others away, leaving only Su Lei in front of Night Sorrow. I've lost. After the gray-robed elder left, Su Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said unwillingly. At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at her. He looked at her and said, "The bet will naturally take effect. However, I haven't thought of how to deal with you yet. You can display yourself in the academy first. However, you have to be clear that you have made a heavenly oath and are already my servant." I understand. Su Lei was a little surprised by Night Sorrow's words. She responded and left directly. Seeing that Night Sorrow had let Su Lei go, Yuan Tianlai asked in confusion, "Why did you let her go? Isn't it better to directly enslave her?" I felt a trace of danger from her body. This kind of danger could threaten my life. It's better to wait until she's stronger before trying to control her. Yi Shang explained and rushed towards the gray-robed elder's location. Gray-robed elder. After catching up to everyone, Knight Sorrow came to the gray-robed elder's side and greeted him politely. You're very good. However, if you want to achieve your goal, I'm afraid you'll have to go a long way. Thinking of what Vice Dean Ji Xian had said, the gray-robed elder said earnestly. All these years, even in the Lu Tian Academy, there had only been a few Supreme Realm seedlings, but no one had ever succeeded. He felt that although Yi Shan had ambitions in this area, it would be extremely difficult for him to realize it. Then go very, very far. The gray-robed elder was talking about the Supreme Realm. Knight Sorrow did not know. Thinking of the goal of protecting the eternal Supreme Realm in his heart, he immediately said this. Knight Sorrow understood that this goal was very difficult to achieve, but he would definitely not give up. Not long after, under the gray-robed elder's lead, Knight Sorrow and the others received their rewards one after another. Then, they were arranged to live in their own residence. They all lived on a mountain peak. Knight Sorrow lived at the peak. This was his reward for climbing the Mountain of Flames. Su Lei was the closest to Knight Sorrow, about 3/4 of the mountain. Then there were Gusu Bi and Hasa Lady, both of them about halfway up the mountain. As for the others, they were arranged to wait at the height of the Mountain of Flames. The few of them were very close to each other. They did not even need to use their soul power to see each other's existence. After arranging everyone's residence, the gray-robed elder handed Knight Sorrow and the others to a crimson-robed elder. Compared to the gray-robed elder, the crimson-robed elder looked much more ferocious. He had the aura of a wolf. After gathering Knight Sorrow and the others, he said with a murderous tone, "The higher you live, the better you'll be treated. The faster your strength will increase. If anyone wants to improve their living environment, you can accept a mission from me. This is the only way for you to improve within 1,000 years. At the same time, this is also your benefit. After 1,000 years, your mountain will enter the same small world as the other mountains." At this point, the crimson-robed elder laughed coldly and said, "At that time, you won't be protected at all." 1,000 years, huh? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow and the others immediately understood. This 1,000 years was the time the academy gave them to take a breather. When the time was up, they would compete and fight with the other batches of students. After that, Knight Sorrow asked, "Elder, if the place we live in is good enough, what can we get after completing the mission? Other than the rewards you have already received, if you want to get anything within 1,000 years, you have to complete the mission. Also, after 800 years, I will calculate your completion of the mission and give you the corresponding reward. As for the remaining 200 years, it is left for you to improve your strength." The crimson-robed elder said word by word. Stealing incense. Chapter 3159. In short, if you want to survive in the competition in the future, you can only fight. Fight non-stop to complete all kinds of missions and gain a lot of experience to increase your strength. Otherwise, if you fight against the previous batches of students, you will be crushed until not even your bones are left. After saying this, the red-robed elder handed each of them a jade token and said, "These are your jade tokens. If you want to accept a mission, just summon me through the jade token. Do you have any other questions?" "Elder, I want to know how to replace the night demon." After the blood-robed elder spoke, Gusubi abruptly spoke. Then, he looked at Knight Sorrow with a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. "Missions. Points. Here, just look at these two things. Don't you think I've made it clear enough?" Hearing this, the red-robed elder said angrily. Reporting to elder. "I got it." After being reprimanded, Gusubi replied. Actually, he wanted to know what kind of results he had to achieve to replace Knight Sorrow's position. But he didn't say it clearly. "Do you have any other questions?" The blood-robed elder looked at the crowd coldly and asked. At this time, Knight Sorrow said directly, "Elder, the night demon wants to accept a mission immediately. I wonder if it's possible?" "Don't you want to go back to your residence to cultivate for a while and wait for your strength to increase before accepting a mission?" After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, the red-robed elder looked at him in confusion. In the past few years, no one had ever accepted a mission after being assigned a place to stay and not used it for a day. Reporting to elder. Although the night demon's talent is not bad, His strength is the lowest among everyone. If I want to catch up with them in 1,000 years, I have to put in the most effort. So, I'm not used to things like a residence. Let's just start the battle. Knight Sorrow looked at the red-robed elder and said firmly, "Good. As expected of the number 1 seed, your effort is undeniable. Here, I want to congratulate you." The blood-robed elder glanced at Yi Shang and spoke with a strange smile on his face. Congratulate me? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow looked at the red-robed elder in confusion. Yes. Congratulations. You have triggered a special quest. This is a hidden mission. Every year, the first person to come in contact with the mission will trigger it. After saying this, the blood-robed elder glanced at the others and said, "You can all leave now." Then, he looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "Follow me into the mission space." After saying that, he brought Knight Sorrow into a small world filled with dancing bamboo slips. In this small world, tens of thousands of bamboo slips had already gained sentience and were dancing in the air. The blood-robed elder glanced at the bamboo slips and said, "These are the places where you usually accept missions. If you want to accept a mission in the future, you can choose from them. As for the hidden mission, follow me." "All right." Yi Shan responded and followed behind the blood-robed elder. They slowly walked to a metal door. Standing outside the iron gate, the blood-robed elder struck out with his palm and imprinted it directly on the iron gate. As the palm print gradually became clearer, the iron door opened. At this time, Knight Sorrow saw about 10 bamboo slips flying in the air. Compared to the bamboo slips outside, these bamboo slips looked more crystal clear and each of them emitted a faint orchid light. They looked very dazzling. It was completely different from the dark aura of the fog. These are the missions you can choose from. This hidden mission is a long-term mission. You can complete it within 1,000 years. If you can't complete it by then, the mission will be taken back and at the same time, 50% of your points will be deducted. The blood-robed elder said to Knight Sorrow and continued, "Next, you can try to accept the mission. That is, grab one of the bamboo slips." Blood-robed elder, the 50% points you mentioned, is it all the points I have after 1,000 years? At this time, Knight Sorrow asked doubtfully. He thought to himself that this mission was a bit of a trap. It didn't sound like a simple mission. In fact, it might contain a huge amount of danger. Yes. If you complete the hidden mission, you will receive a very generous reward. But if you fail, you will also have a lot of points deducted. The blood-robed elder said and continued, "But since you are here, you have no chance to refuse. I'm just asking. I'm not ready to give up." Knight Sorrow said and began to use the sea serpent's eye and the power of his soul to check the few bamboo slips flying in front of him. However, he found that he couldn't see the mission content at all. It should be because all the quests were randomly triggered. He stopped observing and reached out to grab one of the bamboo slips. However, not only did this bamboo slip know how to dodge, but its speed was also far beyond Knight Sorrow's expectations. He actually grabbed nothing but air. Don't underestimate these bamboo slips. They are all bamboo spirits and are very spiritual. Basically, no one can successfully complete the mission in one go. Seeing that Knight Sorrow's first attempt failed, the blood-robed elder reminded him. "Don't worry, elder. I'm not discouraged." Yi Shang replied and continued to attack, grabbing at the bamboo slip that he had just dodged. He was ready to get up from where he fell and targeted the bamboo slip in front of him. Whoosh! Knight Sorrow didn't expect that when he grabbed the bamboo slip again, it would spit out a blazing flame. This bamboo slip actually spat out a mouthful of scorching flames. The temperature of this flame was extremely high, even close to the temperature at the peak of the mountain of flames. Be careful, this is book fire. The blood-robed elder immediately reminded him when he saw the bamboo slip spitting out book fire. Then he muttered, "This bamboo slip is strange today. It actually took the initiative to attack. Could it be that it discriminated against Night Demon because of his low cultivation?" When Yi Shang heard this, he frowned and muttered, "It would be interesting if a little bamboo scroll like you discriminated against my cultivation." At this moment, the bamboo slip that attacked Knight Sorrow suddenly said, "With your strength, you are not worthy of accepting this mission. Give up." "That's true. Today, I must accept this mission of yours." Knight Sorrow was so angry that he laughed when he heard the bamboo slip speak. He first dodged the book fire. Then, he activated the Treastrimsa Battle Mystic technique and used the Divine Essence Trapping Array to trap the bamboo slip in the array. He easily grabbed it in his hand. I'm not lying to you. With your strength, it's impossible to complete this mission. After being grabbed by Night Sorrow, the bamboo slip was like a carp in his hand, struggling non-stop. Since it's a hidden mission, it's naturally better to have a higher difficulty. It's you. Night Sorrow had no intention of giving up. According to the blood-robed elder's instructions, he poured a large amount of divine essence into the bamboo slip. After seeing the bamboo slip clearly, he realized that this mission was indeed very difficult to complete. Stealing incense. Chapter 3160. There was more than one mission recorded on the bamboo scroll. There were 12 missions from the beginning to the end. Every one of them was extremely difficult. For example, one of them was to climb to the top of the Flame Mountain. Another one was to go to the Eternal Supreme World and kill a holy master from the 4 great sanctuaries. What surprised Night Sorrow the most was that one of the missions was to kill 12 of his peers. Only the students and elders of the Lu Tian Academy could do it. From the perspective of the Lu Tian Academy, this mission was a little too dark. However, for Night Sorrow, the most difficult mission was to raise his cultivation by 4 ranks. According to Night Sorrow, who was a lower earthly sovereign, he needed to surpass Middle Earthly Sovereign, Upper Earthly Sovereign, Peak Earthly Sovereign, and successfully break through to Heavenly Sovereign. As for the other missions, they were also difficult, but they were basically hunting or finding items. Night Sorrow did not think much of it. What upset him the most was that the bamboo scroll had chosen to hide the mission reward. It did not tell him what he would get for completing the mission, only the punishment. Night Sorrow thought to himself, could it be that this mission only has a punishment and no reward? Night Demon, what's wrong? Seeing that Night Sorrow did not look too good, the red-robed elder immediately asked. In fact, it was because Night Sorrow was a first-class genius that he was so polite and wanted to build a good relationship with him. If it had been anyone else, he would not have cared at all. I was thinking, since this mission is so difficult, why didn't it mention the reward? Could it be that this hidden mission is just a punishment? Night Sorrow frowned and said, Haha, of course not. The reward for this hidden mission is very generous and will not disappoint you. It's just that it will not be announced in advance. The red-robed elder replied confidently. Could it be that it will be the same as climbing to the top of the Flame Mountain, where I will be able to meet the Emperor Slayer's avatar? If that's the case, I'd rather lose half of my points. Night Sorrow thought to himself, but he would not say it out loud. After thinking for a while, he continued to ask, has anyone completed such a hidden mission before? In the past, there were people who completed it. Basically, out of 20 people who took on the hidden mission, only one person could complete it. As the red-robed elder spoke, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, I believe that you will be the 1 in 20. To be honest, I'm not very confident. At this moment, Yi Shang smiled somewhat helplessly. What? Is the mission too difficult? The red-robed elder asked. There are a total of 12 missions. Overall, they are very difficult. The most difficult part would be going to the Eternal Paragon World and killing one of the Holy Lords of the 4 Great Holy Lands. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, after some analysis, he felt that this mission was definitely the most difficult one for the cultivators in the foggy area. In fact, this mission was indeed very difficult for him to complete. Regardless of whether he was strong enough or not, it was very awkward for him to kill people from the Eternal Supreme World for the sake of a mission in the fog. Even if the character of those from the Holy Lands wasn't good, he still didn't want to do it. Hearing this, the red-robed elder laughed disdainfully. What are you afraid of? Eternal Supreme World is a group of chickens and dogs. There are no strong people at all. When you become a Heavenly Supreme, you can completely sweep through that place. Maybe. The main thing is that I don't know much about the Eternal Supreme World. I'm also not sure about the strength of those Holy Lords. Night Sorrow casually found an excuse. In fact, he judged that among those Holy Lords, other than the Supreme Longevity, the other 3 should have reached the Heavenly Supreme level. However, he didn't know whether they were lower, middle, or upper. As for half-step to Supreme Realm, Night Sorrow believed that with a few of them, it was impossible. Their strength shouldn't be too weak, but at most, they should be lower Heavenly Sovereigns. Because the Eternal Supreme World is just a fish pond in our foggy area. When the fish is big, we will pull in the net. There won't be any big fish. The red-robed elder continued to speak disdainfully. He looked down on the eternal supreme world. The comparison of strength between the two sides was also the same. The current eternal supreme world, compared to the foggy area, was not worth mentioning in terms of the number of experts. Elder, if you say so, Night Demon can rest assured. Night Sorrow's voice responded as usual, but in fact, he was very unhappy in his heart. He thought to himself, one day, I will let you all understand that the eternal supreme world is not a place to be trampled on. Then the red-robed elder continued, anyway, you are already here. Do you want to take a look at the ordinary missions? The ordinary missions for new students are an important means for you to obtain resources. Yes. Naturally, I want to take a look. Originally, I wanted to take on more missions and obtain a large amount of resources in one go, then start to cultivate. Night Sorrow and the red-robed elder walked side by side and said slowly. The red-robed elder didn't mind that Night Sorrow was walking side by side with him. He continued, okay. I'll take you there. You are the first to take on a mission, so this elder is giving you special treatment. You can take advantage of the opportunity and choose some of the missions with low difficulty and generous rewards. Then Night Demon thanks Elder again. It's just that right now, Night Demon doesn't have anything good in his hands, so I can't give it to you. Let's talk about it later. Night Sorrow said casually and politely. Hearing this, the red-robed elder's eyes lit up and unexpectedly said, then, this elder won't be polite and will remember this favor. I hope that one day, Night Demon, when you soar, don't forget me, the red-robed elder. Good. If there is such a day, Night Sorrow will remember our old friendship. Night Sorrow replied and thought to himself, when I rise, I will purify you and let you return to the essence of the eternal supreme world. You people in the fog area basically came from the eternal supreme world, but now, you treat the eternal supreme world as a fish pond. How infuriating. The red-robed elder naturally didn't know what Night Sorrow was thinking. When he heard his words, he immediately smiled and said, let's go. Let's take on missions. Okay. Night Sorrow said and followed behind the red-robed elder to the room where they took on missions. He began to follow the red-robed elder's instructions and took on some missions with low difficulty and generous rewards. In the end, he took on more than 20 missions in a row and left this place. According to the red-robed elder's instructions, he began to do missions. Because of the map and hints provided by the red-robed elder, Night Sorrow completed these missions very smoothly. It took about 3 years to successfully complete them and obtain a large amount of resources as a reward. It's time to start breaking through to a new realm. After completing all these missions, Night Sorrow returned to his residence and began to cultivate. However, just as Night Sorrow began to cultivate, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast sent a voice transmission. Can you share some of the resources in your hands with me? Stealing incense. Chapter 3161. Oh. You've recovered from your injuries and are preparing to break through to a new realm? Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice when he heard the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's words. Yes. I've basically recovered from my injuries and am preparing to continue cultivating. If you give me enough resources, I'll probably advance again very soon. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast continued. He had seen how many resources Night Sorrow had obtained in the space grotto heaven. Therefore, he was still very confident in advancing. Most people valued cultivation resources very much. When Night Sorrow heard the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's words, he immediately said, okay. I'll give you a portion first. If it's not enough, you can ask again. Thank you. I'll improve my strength as soon as possible and fight alongside you. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast was not polite at all to Night Sorrow. After saying that, he took the resources from Night Sorrow. He began cultivating in the space grotto heaven. This time, he was prepared to completely consolidate the level of Earth Sovereign and advance to peak Earth Sovereign. Then, he would consume the heavenly spirit flower that Night Sorrow gave him and advance to Sky Sovereign. This trip to the fog zone had a huge impact on him. Originally, he thought that Earth Sovereign was already very strong, but now he realized that even Sky Sovereign was not necessarily enough. He had already locked on to the half-step extreme realm. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast still had self-awareness about the extreme realm. There's no need to stand on ceremony between us. In addition, there's a 5-fold time cultivation room in my residence. You can come out and cultivate. Knight Sorrow immediately said when he saw that the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was preparing to cultivate in his space grotto heaven. This 5-fold time cultivation room was one of the benefits of his residence. That's great. If I can increase the efficiency by 5 times, I'll be one step closer to advancing to Sky Sovereign. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast, who was preparing to completely consolidate his Earth sovereign realm, immediately became excited when he heard Knight Sorrow's words. He came to the 5-fold time cultivation room and immersed himself in cultivating. At this time, his aura was under Knight Sorrow's control, and there were no flaws, so there was no need to worry about being exposed. Everyone, I'm going to start cultivating too. Are you coming out or continuing to stay in my space grotto heaven? Knight Sorrow knew that this cultivation session might last for some time, so he asked the others. I'd better go out. Staying in the space grotto heaven all this time is really a bit depressing. Yen Tianlai immediately responded. After that, Knight Sorrow helped him change his aura and appeared in the cultivation room. He was also interested in the use of the cultivation room. As for Bai Mei Sanren, Chen Qingyun, Yang Fan, and the others, they also chose to come out. However, they were too embarrassed to ask Knight Sorrow for resources, so they didn't cultivate in the cultivation room. Instead, like a butler, he helped Knight Sorrow take care of his residence. Knight Sorrow, on the other hand, had completely entered a state of cultivation. He knew that his cultivation level was too low for the Killer Heaven Academy, so he wanted to raise it as soon as possible. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep up with others' pace. With the large amount of resources provided by the Killer Heaven Academy, as well as the cultivation rooms that he could control, his cultivation would be much more efficient. However, even so, the road from Lower Earthly Sovereign to Middle Earthly Sovereign was not easy. In the cultivation room, he had been cultivating for 200 years, which was equivalent to 40 years in the real world, and he had only advanced to the peak of Lower Earthly Sovereign. There was still a bottleneck before he could reach Middle Earthly Sovereign. This bottleneck could not be broken through by absorbing resources. Under such circumstances, Knight Sorrow chose to come out. He knew that this bottleneck required battle and comprehension. Hence, he locked his target on one of the hidden missions. This hidden mission was for Knight Sorrow to kill a lower heavenly sovereign evil demon in the Killer Heaven battlefield. Among the 12 missions, this mission was undoubtedly the easiest. Therefore it was targeted as the first target. Logically speaking, in the first 1,000 years of entering the Killer Heaven Academy, Knight Sorrow could have spent all his time in the reserve. However, the Killer Heaven battlefield where this mission was located was an area where the other senior students usually trained. Knight Sorrow knew that if he wanted to complete the mission, he would most likely meet the other senior students. However, he had always grown through battles, so he decided to go to the Killer Heaven battlefield to kill evil demons. He did not want to live in peace. When Knight Sorrow found the red-robed elder and told him about this, the red-robed elder frowned. The red-robed elder looked at him with a frown and tried to persuade him. Night Demon, you know that there are no good people in the Killer Heaven Academy. The reason we gave you 1,000 years to improve your strength is so that you can catch up with your cultivation. Then, you can enter the Killer Heaven battlefield. However, you are preparing to enter so early. Isn't this risky? Elder. Among the 12 hidden missions that I have accepted, none of them can be completed in the mountain in front of me. If I wait for 1,000 years and still can't complete them, 50% of my points will be deducted. Hence I have to take the risk. After the red-robed elder finished speaking, Knight Sorrow said firmly, "This hidden mission is really harmful." After listening to Knight Sorrow, the red-robed elder complained and continued, "If that's the case, I won't persuade you further. However, you have to be extremely careful. Only a genius who grows up is a real genius. Remember, danger lurks everywhere in the Killer Heaven battlefield. You can be killed in seconds at any time. Not only do you have to be careful of your senior brothers and sisters, but you also have to be aware of all kinds of dangers." "Thank you, Elder. Please bring me into the Killer Heaven battlefield." Knight Sorrow waited for the red-robed elder to finish speaking before he spoke immediately. "The entrance to the Killer Heaven battlefield is at the Devourer Peak. I'll bring you there. If you can make it out safely, send a voice transmission to me immediately. Don't wander around the academy alone. The senior students are more domineering and ferocious than you think. The red-robed elder reminded Knight Sorrow on the way to the Devourer Peak. As for Yishan, he was quite generous. Of course, this was also because he wanted to befriend Su Mo. He knew that if Knight Sorrow did not die prematurely, he would definitely grow up to be a big shot one day in the future. Thank you, Elder, for taking care of me. Knight Sorrow could feel the red-robed elder's goodwill. As he replied, he followed the red-robed elder with peace of mind. When they arrived at the Devourer Peak, the entrance to the Killer Heaven battlefield, there was no one around. The red-robed elder smiled and said, "There's no one around. You shouldn't cause too much trouble if you enter. This is a brief map of the place. Take it and go in quickly." "All right. Thank you, Elder." Knight Sorrow took the hand-drawn map and entered the Killer Heaven battlefield immediately after Knight Sorrow took it. As soon as he entered the Killer Heaven battlefield, he felt an extremely strong chilly wind blowing past. Some of the skin on his cheeks and neck was torn off immediately. What a strong chilly wind. It seems like the environment here is really bad. Fortunately, the place where the demons are summoned is very close. Knight Sorrow felt a terrifying chilly wind and immediately strengthened his god territory. Stealing incense. Chapter 3162. After strengthening the god territory, Knight Sorrow felt a little better. He felt that if an honorable entered the killer field, he would probably be blown away by the cold wind. It was obvious. The cold wind was terrifying. According to the map, it will take about half a month to reach the crack of the abyss where the demons are. I hope everything goes smoothly. Recalling the map in his mind, Knight Sorrow began to hurry along according to his memory. However, he had only taken a few steps when he heard a shocking sound of fighting. The sound of fighting sounded like thousands of troops fighting, but Knight Sorrow looked again and again with the sea serpent's eye, but he did not see a single person at all. In this way, the earth-shaking sound of fighting seemed a little strange. After sensing it carefully, Knight Sorrow thought to himself, "It has some effect on the mind, but it's not too big. I should ignore it." After saying that, he ignored the sound of fighting and began to hurry on his way. However, Knight Sorrow had not gone far when he heard the sound of fighting intensifying. Furthermore, before his eyes, a magnificent army of thousands of men and horses had appeared. Knight Sorrow's scalp went numb when he saw this. Between the two sides, one side seemed to be the cultivators from the eternal supreme world in the foggy area, and the other side should be the natives of the foggy area. Their leaders were all half-step supreme realm existences. Behind them were thousands of sky sovereigns, and the rest were all earth sovereigns and honorables. And Knight Sorrow was sandwiched in the middle. What's going on? He could not help but think. At this moment, the general of the foggy area cultivators suddenly shouted at Knight Sorrow in the middle. "Night Demon, why aren't you returning to the formation? Do you want to be the vanguard?" You can actually call out my fake name. Could it be that I'm under some illusion? Have I entered an illusion? Knight Sorrow, who was called out by the general, felt very surprised. He wondered if he was hallucinating because of the earth-shattering sound of fighting. Just as Knight Sorrow was puzzled, the general roared again. "All right. Since you want to be the vanguard, it's up to you. Our army will send Night Demon as the vanguard. Do you have anyone who dares to come out and fight? I'll kill your Feng Xian Feng." Before Knight Sorrow could react, a heavenly sovereign riding a war wolf rushed out from the aboriginal's side. The heavenly sovereign was a woman. His appearance could only be considered average, but Knight Sorrow was a little surprised when he took a closer look. This was because this woman had a vertical eye on her forehead. She looked almost exactly the same as Whirling Woman. A woman from the Hassa clan? He glanced at the Knight Sorrow and asked in confusion. "What? Have you ever met my Hassa people? Since we're fated to meet, I'll leave your corpse intact." After she finished speaking, the woman from the Hassa race immediately cast an eye technique on Knight Sorrow. The attack seems to have materialized. Knight Sorrow guessed that this was all an illusion. However, the attack was so realistic that he couldn't not block it. He immediately used the dark version of God's finger in the direction of the attack. He pointed at a long, straight black light. After the black light appeared, it immediately collided with the eye technique of the woman from the Hassa race. It successfully resolved the attack. "You're quite capable. Let's go again." The Hassa woman's attack was blocked, and her face immediately showed a trace of astonishment. It's obviously an illusion. Why is everything so realistic? Knight Sorrow, who was observing the woman from the Hassa race, was even more surprised when he saw the woman's expression. Oh well. At this moment, the war wolf that the woman from the Hassa race was riding suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. Its huge claws stomped on the ground and suddenly pounced on Knight Sorrow. The woman from the Hassa race stood on the back of the wolf and took out a short sword to stab at him. It doesn't matter if it's real or an illusion. I'll defeat you first. Facing the woman and the wolf, Knight Sorrow roared and completely used the 33 Heavens battle secret technique. He also activated the Green Phoenix battle armor. Holding the golden heavenly halberd, he fought with the woman. It had to be said that the combat strength of the woman from the Hassa race was very strong. Although her eye technique was not as powerful as the woman from the Hassa race, she was very strong in other aspects. When she cooperated with the giant wolf, it was difficult for Knight Sorrow to deal with her. It's really a bit difficult to deal with. Knight Sorrow and the woman from the Hassa race exchanged hundreds of moves, but neither of them could do anything to the other. At this time, the general of the cultivators suddenly roared, "If you don't kill her within 10 breaths, I will kill you directly." Knight Sorrow turned his head and saw a giant scythe in the general's hand. This giant scythe was suffused with a deep black light and looked extremely evil. It was as if he was going to attack at any time. If it's an illusion, then I should be able to use the power of merit, right? After thinking for a moment, Knight Sorrow felt that it was impossible to encounter such a big battle in reality. After hesitating for a moment, he was ready to use the power of merit, because he could feel that if he could not deal with the other party within 10 breaths, he might really be killed. Divine Essence Trap Array. Thinking of this, Knight Sorrow roared and set up the trap array. The woman from the Hassa race was trapped in it. Then he entered it and suddenly summoned the Dragon of Merit, so that his attack would be imbued with merit. He knew that the power of merit was the best thing to deal with demons and monsters. What kind of move is this? Seeing that there was a trace of golden light in Knight Sorrow's attack, the woman from the Hassa race who was affected by the golden light immediately asked, "Why are you talking so much? Just accept your fate of destruction." Knight Sorrow roared and used the power of merit to perform the Qingxian Godly Spear technique. With the power of merit, it was much easier for him to deal with the woman from the Hassa race in front of him. Affected by the power of merit, the wolf under the command of the woman from the Hassa race did not even dare to move and directly crawled on the ground. "The one who should be destroyed is you." At this time, the woman from the Hassa race roared and completely used her eye technique. She summoned 500 to 600 eyeballs and turned them into black holes, shooting countless black lights at Knight Sorrow. "I have experienced all of these moves of yours, and my attack is stronger than yours, so you have no effect at all." At that time, the woman from the Hassa race had summoned thousands of eyeballs, and that kind of attack was much more strange than the woman in front of him. Therefore, facing her attack, Knight Sorrow did not feel much pressure. In the enclosed space, he quickly killed her. "Very good. Night Demon, you have killed the enemy vanguard and obtained a bottle of Lower Heavenly Sovereign's Law Essence." After Knight Sorrow killed the woman from the Hassa race, the general of the cultivators threw out a bottle of Lower Heavenly Sovereign's Law Essence. Knight Sorrow took the bottle with a blank face and found that it was actually real. Then, he looked again and found that the team in front of him had all disappeared. It felt as if he had just experienced a dream. Stealing Incense. Chapter 3163. If I couldn't kill that Hassa woman within 10 breaths, would my head have been cut off by the giant scythe? Yi Shang thought to himself with lingering fear as he recalled the huge scythe he had seen. Everything that had happened just now seemed so real. Why don't you try and see if the rules and essence are real? At this moment, Little Seven suddenly spoke up to remind him. I'll give it a try." The army in front of him had disappeared, but the small bottle in Knight Sorrow's hand was still there. When he heard Little Seven's voice transmission, he immediately uncapped the bottle and prepared to absorb the rules and essence inside to see if this thing was real or fake. "Stop. Hand over the essence bottle in your hand. I'll spare your life." At this moment, a sinister voice suddenly sounded. It interrupted Knight Sorrow, who was about to absorb the rules and essence. Knight Sorrow looked at the other party and realized that it was a man with silver hair. The man's eyes were long and narrow, and he looked very handsome. However, he gave off a very demonic feeling. He scanned the man with the sea serpent's eye and suddenly asked, "Do you know what's going on with the bottle in my hand? If you tell me what's going on, I'll give this bottle to you." To Night Sorrow, the rules and essence in the small bottle were not much, so it was nothing to give it away. He wanted to find out what had happened just now. Haha. So you're a rookie who has never entered the battlefield of the killer heaven. Okay. Throw the bottle over and I'll tell you the whole story. The male cultivator said with disdain when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Take it. Night Sorrow did not hesitate and threw the bottle in his hand to the other party. However, the male cultivator who caught the bottle sneered and said, I can tell you that the rules and essence in this bottle can be swallowed directly. As for you, if you want to know other things, you'll need another 3 to 5 bottles. After saying that, he swallowed the rules and essence in the bottle directly and revealed a look of enjoyment. Night Sorrow continued to ask, This bottle is the reward I got from the battle, right? Humph. If you want to know more, hand over a few more bottles. Otherwise, you're just asking for trouble. The demonic male cultivator had a sinister smile on his face. Clearly, even if Night Sorrow were to give him a few more bottles, he wouldn't say anything. Good. Very good. Understanding the male cultivator's attitude, Night Sorrow smiled and said, If that's the case, then I'll have to offend you. Oh my. Are you, a lower earthly sovereign, going to attack me, a lower heavenly sovereign? Seeing that Night Sorrow wanted to make a move, the evil-looking male cultivator said with a look of disdain, Using a bottle of nomological essence to buy your life is already a fair price. You still have the extravagant hope of asking this and that. He was really courting death. Die. After saying this, the evil-looking male cultivator did not wait for Night Sorrow to make a move, and directly spat out a silver needle at Night Sorrow. After the silver needle was spat out, it immediately scattered into thousands of needles in the void. Night Sorrow's attack was overwhelming. Usually, I kill heavenly sovereigns. If you were an earthly sovereign, I really wouldn't take the initiative to attack. Using the sea serpent's eye to observe the other party's attack, Night Sorrow was sure that this person's attack was not much stronger than Whirling Woman's. In the past, he might not have been easy to deal with. However, although he had not advanced recently, his strength had increased by a lot. Facing these silver needles, he directly released his divine domain and successfully blocked them. I didn't expect a rookie like you to have some ability. Remember, the one who killed you is the Green Rock Wasp, Duan Li. Duan Li roared and summoned back all the silver needles that he had shot out. He combined these silver needles into the length of a spear. Holding the array with both hands, he attacked Night Sorrow. Relying on his high cultivation, he was prepared to rely on melee attacks to completely crush Night Sorrow. This was an incomparably contemptuous attitude. You want me to understand that it will be easy for you to deal with me, right? Night Sorrow naturally understood Duan Li's intention. Then, he took out his golden heavenly halberd and resisted without fear. Ever since he started cultivating, Night Sorrow had experienced countless battles. Among them, there were many melee battles. Facing Duan Li's attack, he cooperated with him. Soon, he suppressed Duan Li. How is this possible? Where did such a powerful earthly sovereign come from? Duan Li, who realized that he was being suppressed and continued to use his unique skill, was in disbelief. He thought for a moment and did not think that there would be any powerful earthly sovereign students in the Killer Heaven Academy. Therefore, he secretly guessed that Night Sorrow must be one of the best among the new batch of students who had deliberately hidden his strength and entered the Killer Heaven Academy battlefield. Thinking of this, he shouted, Could it be that you are the new batch of students that the Academy has recruited? Yes. Tell me, what happened to me just now? What's going on? Otherwise you will die. Night Sorrow roared with murderous intent. You want me to die? You should be the one to die first. At this moment, Duan Li suddenly summoned a talisman and threw it at Night Sorrow. The talisman was a reward that he had obtained from the battlefield. He originally had 2 of them, but the other one was used when he was dealing with a heavenly sovereign. If that's the case, I'll kill you first, then use the soul-searching skill on you. There was no big conflict between the 2 of them, but after Duan Li had obtained the talisman, he would not explain to him what was going on. Moreover, he wanted to kill him again and again, which made Night Sorrow really angry. He used the eye of the sea serpent to observe the talisman. He was sure that he could not block it, So he used the Divine Vitality Trap array on the talisman and used his movement skill to evade it. Although the talisman was very powerful, it did not have any consciousness of its own. It was trapped in a sealed space and immediately exploded. Although the explosion shook the surrounding area, it did not cause any harm to Night Sorrow. Duan Li's mouth twitched when he saw this scene. He did not expect such a powerful talisman to be broken so easily. This talisman is the same as you. It's too simple. Therefore it will still end in destruction. Night Sorrow looked at him and said coldly. He had given him a chance, but Duan Li did not cherish it. Then, he completely suppressed the other party. Duan Li wanted to escape, but his speed was not as fast as Night Sorrow's. He had no ability to escape at all. At this moment he begged for mercy. I'll tell you everything I know. No need. One of the missions that I received was to kill 20 people from the Killer Heaven Academy. You can be the first one. As for what I need, I'll find it myself. Night Sorrow said. Then, he pierced Duan Li's energy center with his spear, took control of his soul, and used the soul-searching skill. Soon, he understood what was going on in the battleground of the Slayer of Heaven. Stealing incense. Chapter 3164. It turned out that every cultivator who entered the Killer Heaven battlefield would encounter such a situation. 35xs encountering various illusory scenes would activate a battle adventure. If they completed the adventure, they would be rewarded. If they were killed in the battle, they would really die. In these adventures, there were not only scenes of thousands of soldiers and horses, but also other battle scenes. It was very magical. As for the small bottle of rules and essence, it could be consumed directly. The body would absorb it automatically. It was very effective and could help to break through the bottleneck. So that's how it is. It seems that if I want to level up, I can stay here and fight. But let's complete the mission first. After Night Sorrow figured out what was going on, he wanted to stay in the Killer Heaven battlefield and break through to become a Middle Earthly sovereign. However, he still rushed to the valley where the mission was. On the way to the valley, Night Sorrow encountered another illusion. This time, he was a soldier guarding the city. He and some other soldiers were guarding the city. On the other hand, some of the natives of the foggy area were attacking the city in all shapes and sizes. In the end, Night Sorrow and the others successfully defended the city and obtained a bottle of rules and essence. He drank it on the spot and felt that his bottleneck had been touched. However, the amount was too small to break through the bottleneck completely. However, seeing that it had such an effect, Night Sorrow was satisfied. He decided that after completing the mission, he would stay in the battlefield and fight until he became a Middle Earthly sovereign before leaving the Killer Heaven battlefield. What a lonely valley! When Night Sorrow arrived at the valley where the mission was, he realized that it was very desolate. The entire valley was covered with yellow sand. There was no grass, no trees, and no living creatures. However, in the deepest part of the valley, there was a small altar. Night Sorrow came to the altar. According to the instructions, he placed the bamboo scroll on the altar and activated it immediately. Night Sorrow thought that it would summon the devil. He did not expect that he would be sucked into the altar together with the bamboo scroll. When Night Sorrow came to his senses, he realized that he had come to hell. Some small devils were torturing some spirits. Most of these spirits were children. Their eyes were filled with fear, but they did not have the ability to resist. You're torturing the souls of some children, aren't you a little too much? After observing with the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow realized that the child's soul wasn't an illusion at all. They really existed. They were the soul souls of some children. He couldn't stand it any longer. He immediately killed all the demons and kept the tortured souls into his own space grotto heaven. Who dares to cause trouble in this king's territory? Where did my food go? Just as Night Sorrow killed all the little fiends, a deafening voice suddenly rang out. Then, a huge body appeared in the small world. It was a demon with 2 horns and 2 wings. It was dozens of times taller than Night Sorrow. Its entire body was black, just like the description on the bamboo scroll. Your food? I think you're the one who's eating. After observing this demon with the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow confirmed that this was the one he was looking for and immediately replied coldly. You are courting death. Since you've taken my food, you can make your own food. The demon with 2 horns and 2 wings roared in a low voice. Then, it shot 2 black beams at Night Sorrow with its 2 horns. After these 2 black beams were shot out, they immediately turned into 2 black dragons in the void. They intertwined with each other and attacked Night Sorrow. Very strong. Night Sorrow, who was observing with the sea serpent's eye, could determine the strength of this attack. After saying that, he used the eternal reincarnation spear and attacked the 2 black dragons. After all, these 2 black dragons were not sky sovereigns. They were immediately imprisoned on the spot by the eternal reincarnation spear. Therefore, they could not avoid Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd. The golden heavenly halberd pierced through them consecutively. Damn it! Damn it! You should suffer the pain of the 18 levels of hell. Seeing his 2 black dragons being easily destroyed, the demon with 2 horns and 2 wings split into 3 ferociously. It summoned 2 doppelgangers and attacked Night Sorrow with 3 of them. Its 2 doppelgangers were exactly the same as its original body, and their combat strength was equally matched. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow felt a trace of pressure. Let us lend you a hand. At this moment, Little Seven, who was in the space grotto heaven, suddenly spoke. Night Sorrow knew that Little Seven, Little Five, and Little Nine were preparing to combine. He smiled and said, "Not for the time being. I can deal with it." As he spoke, Night Sorrow summoned the Dragon of Virtue in his body and fought with the demon in front of him. He knew that the power of virtue was extremely lethal to the demon in front of him. The 2 sides were completely complementary and counteracting each other. There was no need for the eternal divine tower to help at all. The power of virtue is indeed powerful. Seeing Night Sorrow summon the Dragon of Virtue and instantly suppress the demon in front of him, Little Seven immediately praised. Actually, my power of virtue is still a little weak. If I can reach the level of a Sky Supreme, I only need an instant to kill the demon in front of me. Night Sorrow responded to Little Seven while fighting against the demon with 2 horns and 2 wings. After summoning the Dragon of Virtue, he was able to fight with ease. At this moment, the demon with 2 horns and 2 wings began to recite an obscure incantation after being suppressed continuously. This incantation was the demon language that Night Sorrow could not understand. As it finished reciting the incantation, its body also completely evolved. Its originally pitch-black body immediately transformed into a child-sized demon after combining the 3 doppelgangers. After turning into a little demon, it immediately let out a sharp laugh. That cackling sound made people shudder in fear. Why do I feel that its strength has increased even though it has become smaller? Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe and found that after the demon with 2 horns and 2 wings transformed into a little demon, its aura skyrocketed by about 10 times. You're going, right, human? The little demon's eyes were filled with intense resentment. With a roar, it used the sea serpent's eye to shoot 2 black lights at Night Sorrow. After these 2 black lights appeared, they did not attack Night Sorrow. However, these 2 black lights quickly wrapped around Night Sorrow's body. It gave him a very uncomfortable feeling. It was as if his soul had been corroded by something dirty. It was very uncomfortable. However, at this moment, Night Sorrow laughed and said, "Do you think that by increasing your strength, you can resist the power of virtue? Your attack attribute has not changed, so you will still be restrained." As he spoke, he added the power of virtue to his divine territory. He held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand again and attacked the little demon. At this moment, the golden heavenly halberd's every attack carried the power of virtue. It kept flashing with golden light. Steel fragrance. Chapter 3165. The flickering golden light made the little devil very uncomfortable. It was in a stalemate with Night Sorrow for a while, and it found that it still had a natural resistance to the power of merit. It immediately got ready to escape. Trying to escape? This small world is only so big. Where can you escape to? Seeing that the little devil wanted to escape, Night Sorrow was not going to let it go. He quickly chased after it. Night Sorrow, be careful. There is a formation in front. Just as Night Sorrow chased after it, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer suddenly warned him. Oh, there is a formation? Night Sorrow observed it with a sea serpent's eye, but he did not see anything. He was a little stunned. There is definitely one, but ordinary people should not be able to see it, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer said. The male hammer of the restriction-breaching hammer said, "But our judgment can't be wrong. There's definitely a formation in front of us, and it's not simple. If you enter it by mistake, you will be in big trouble. What should we do? Should we think of a way to break the formation? How should we break this formation?" Yishan asked as he stopped and didn't chase after the little fiend. He could not see the formation in front of him with the sea serpent's eye, let alone think of a way to break it. At this time, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer said, "If I am not wrong, the formation in front of us is a consumable formation. It can only be used a few times. As long as we think of a way to exhaust its energy, we should be able to break the formation." "Let me try," Knight Sorrow said. He then took out a half-step Sky Sovereign short sword from his spatial device and drove it toward the formation. Boom! When the short sword flew to the formation was immediately activated, and an extremely powerful attack burst out. The little devil turned around and glared at Knight Sorrow, who had seen through the formation. However, it did not make any sound. Knight Sorrow looked at the little devil and said, "I can see that you have exhausted all your abilities. Just wait to be destroyed." After saying that, he took out all kinds of divine weapons and bombarded the formation. As for this array formation, after destroying the 9 divine artifacts, it was completely devoid of energy. When the array ran out of energy, Knight Sorrow immediately flew towards the little demon and continued to attack it. After being continuously sent flying by Knight Sorrow, the little demon was completely enraged. It roared towards the sky and transformed into an even smaller demon. It looked like it was only the height of a palm. "Knight Sorrow, let's end this. I heard that this kind of demon, the smaller it is, the stronger it is. If I can transform a few more times, I'll surpass the lower heavenly sovereign level and become a middle heavenly sovereign." Little Seven said hurriedly when he saw Little Devil continue to transform. "Good. I will do my best," Yi Shang said and cast a virtuous trapping array at the little devil in front of him, trapping him within it temporarily. The imp's life was in danger, and he didn't care about his virtuous power. He attacked the sealed spaces barrier with all his might. Soon he would be able to escape. At this time, Knight Sorrow had displayed the 33 Heavens secret combat technique. I activated the Azure Phoenix battle armor and used it to shoot out a thick flame. It attacked the little devil. This flame was the essence of the flames absorbed by the Azure Phoenix battle armor on the Mountain of Flames. The temperature was so high that even Knight Sorrow couldn't stand it. When he attacked the little devil, it immediately burned the little devil until it screamed in pain. Hearing the screams, Knight Sorrow felt a little compassionate. However, he immediately thought of the tortured spirits of the children. He immediately made up his mind and used his golden heavenly halberd to kill the little devil in front of him. Then, he used his flames to burn it to ashes. "I've finally completed the mission. I wonder if there are any rewards." After killing the little devil, Knight Sorrow immediately took out the bamboo scroll and observed it. While he was observing, the mission on the bamboo scroll gradually turned from black to red. Then, a bottle suddenly spat out from the bamboo scroll. Knight Sorrow opened the bottle and found that it was green liquid. He immediately asked in confusion, "Do any of you know what this is?" "This seems to be evil demon essence." Xiaowu in the Space Grotto Heaven replied and continued, "I heard that this evil demon essence is very magical. When smeared on the body, it can strengthen the body. If I smear it on the golden heavenly halberd, can it increase the strength of the halberd?" Knight Sorrow glanced at the golden heavenly halberd. Recently, it had been used too much. Moreover, it had always been used against heavenly sovereign artifacts. Some cracks had already appeared. Knight Sorrow wanted to repair these cracks and increase its strength. However, hearing this, Xiaowu said with some pity, "Evil demon essence is used against cultivators. Divine artifacts can't be used at all. If you want to increase the strength of the golden heavenly halberd, why don't you find some heavenly sovereign materials and directly refine it into a heavenly sovereign artifact? That way its strength will naturally increase." "That's good too. Now that my understanding of heavenly sovereign has deepened, as long as I have enough materials, I should be able to do it." When Knight Sorrow heard this, he put away the golden heavenly halberd and began to smear the evil demon essence all over his body. Originally, he was smearing it bit by bit and rubbing it all over his body. However, when he was finally done, the evil demon essence suddenly formed 9 evil demon runes on his body. These green evil demon runes looked like tattoos. Knight Sorrow, who did not understand the evil demon language, did not know what they meant. However, after testing it out, he realized that his body's strength had indeed increased by a lot. At this time Knight Sorrow said, "The mission in front of us has ended. Next, we will return to the Killer Heaven battlefield and continue fighting. When I advance to Middle Earthly Sovereign, I will leave the Killer Heaven Academy and do another hidden mission. When the time comes, I can also look for Little 8. It's time for the 3 levels to reunite." Hearing this, Little 7 and Little 9 were very excited. Xiaowu said, "If 7, 8, and 9 combine, then we can sense the location of the other levels. When the time comes, if we can find all of them, we can directly combine the city's supreme divine artifacts." That's great. However, if we want to gather every level, I'm afraid it will be very difficult. I heard that some of them are in the cities controlled by the 3 supreme divine artifacts. If we were to snatch them, we would definitely alarm them. That's no different from seeking death, Knight Sorrow said after pondering for a while. Xiaowu continued, "We can talk about those levels in the future. However, if we can get them, we must not let them fall into the hands of others. If we reunite, it will be of great help to you and the eternal sovereign world." Of course. Supreme divine artifacts are legendary items. How can they not be powerful? Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Immediately, the dilapidated small world in front of him returned to the Killer Heaven battlefield. According to the map, the position he was at was equivalent to the edge of the Killer Heaven battlefield. The risk factor was the lowest. However, as he walked, Knight Sorrow was still very vigilant. He knew that the Killer Heaven battlefield was not simple. Clan. Chapter 3166. Although he was at the edge of the battlefield and was not as dangerous as the center of the battlefield, there were still threats everywhere. As Knight Sorrow traveled, he realized that the battlefield was rather desolate. Basically, he could only see the ruins of the battlefield and the ground that had been turned into sand after the battle. It was hard to even see a tree. Moreover, in the void, there was a constant wind that could almost cut through the skin. If Knight Sorrow had not used the evil demon essence to strengthen his body, he would have to use his divine territory to withstand this wind. About half a month had passed as he continued to walk in this manner. Knight Sorrow finally entered another illusory realm. In the illusion, Yishang familiarized himself with it for a while and was shocked. This was because he had entered a martial arts competition for a spouse. Standing on the stage, he was the main character of the martial arts competition, accepting all kinds of challenges from the foggy area creatures. The foggy creatures below the stage were all grotesque and ugly. Some of them even made people want to vomit. This is really an illusion that makes me speechless. Knight Sorrow was basically aware that the illusion was similar to a mission. However, if he failed the mission, he would be trapped in it and would never be able to leave. Therefore, he did not dare to be careless. "I'll challenge you." Just then, a creature in the foggy area that was made of sticky liquid flowed onto the stage like water. It gradually turned into a humanoid form with no facial features and opened its mouth to speak. "What is this?" Knight Sorrow looked at the sticky monster and felt a little disgusted. He thought to himself, "If I lose to this thing and stay here with him, I'd rather die. My name is Venom. I'm your future partner." After the viscous monster Venom spoke again, its body turned into a mirror's appearance. Then, the mirror instantly turned into thousands of fragments and shot towards Knight Sorrow. When fighting with sticky monsters, it seems like you can't let them touch you. Otherwise, you'll be sucked in and it'll be hard to break free. Knight Sorrow, you must be careful. Seeing the sticky monster Venom turning into thousands of fragments, Xiaowu, who was in the Grotto Heaven, immediately reminded him. He had heard a little about this kind of sticky monster. "I won't let them touch me," Knight Sorrow replied and released his divine territory. At the same time, he used his movement skill and began to dodge the attacks in front of him in the void. The sticky monster Venom's attack was different from ordinary hidden weapons. It was flexible and multi-sided. Furthermore, during the attack, each fragment could change its shape at any time. If it was an ordinary earthly sovereign, it would be impossible for him to avoid the thousands of attacks. However, Knight Sorrow, with his exquisite movement skill, had succeeded. This made Venom very angry. When it realized that this move was useless, it immediately gathered its body together and flew into the void, turning into a green cloud. After it turned into a green cloud, it began to rain. Those raindrops were very dense. If one looked up from the stage, they would find that there was nowhere to hide. If I didn't guess wrongly, these raindrops are all part of your body, right? Let's see your rain, oh my fire, my fire, my fire. Knight Sorrow, who was looking up, knew that he couldn't avoid these raindrops no matter what. Therefore, he immediately activated the Green Phoenix battle armor and shot out flames. At the same time, he used the Golden Heavenly Halberd and shot out the Roaring Flame Demon Spear. The Roaring Flame Demon Spear also shot out a large amount of flames. Oh woo! Oh woo! After being burned by the flames, the sticky monster Venom immediately howled. Soon, it revealed its original form. It looked like a pool of sticky liquid. Xiaowu, how do we kill this sticky monster? Knight Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's Eye to look at the sticky monster Venom, but he didn't know what kind of life form it was. I'm not sure either. However, everything in the world can be destroyed with force. Xiaowu replied without hesitation. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow nodded and said, that makes sense. Moreover, this is an illusion. I can use the power of merit. With this in mind, Knight Sorrow used the Golden Heavenly Halberd to shoot out the Eternal Reincarnation Spear and a Dragon of Merit at the same time. What is this? Seeing the Dragon of Merit appear, the sticky monster Venom immediately felt a chill. It directly hid in the arena. This was also under the situation where Knight Sorrow's power of merit was only at the supreme level. With the Little Devil's support, Knight Sorrow's power of merit stabilized at the intermediate supreme level. However, when used against the sticky monster Venom in front of him, it could make the other party avoid it very much. It was obvious how effective it was. And although the sticky monster Venom kept dodging, its speed in the arena was not as fast as Knight Sorrow's. Not long after, it was completely killed by Knight Sorrow. It caused an uproar below the arena. The creatures in the fog below the arena didn't expect Knight Sorrow to kill the sticky monster Venom in front of them so quickly. And Knight Sorrow killed the sticky monster Venom in the illusion, so he didn't get the power of merit as a reward. However, he killed it and obtained an essence bottle. Thinking of Duan Li, Knight Sorrow directly drank it. As expected, after drinking the essence, his body could immediately absorb it on its own, and he felt very comfortable. Good stuff. It's indeed good stuff. I can feel that if I get a few more bottles, I'll be able to get them. I can definitely advance to a Middle Earthly Sovereign. After drinking the essence bottle, Knight Sorrow felt good. At this moment, he looked at the many foggy area cultivators below the arena and said, who else wants to come up? According to his judgment, if he defeated 3 or 4 more opponents, he should be able to advance to a Middle Earthly Sovereign. Therefore, he took the initiative to issue a challenge. I also want to challenge you. At this moment, a foggy area cultivator with the appearance of a withered tree suddenly flew onto the arena. She flew onto the arena and transformed into a female cultivator. Hee hee. This female cultivator looks really beautiful. Why don't you stay here and fly together with her, Knight Sorrow? Little Seven, who was in the space cave, immediately joked after seeing the female cultivator's appearance. The reason for that was because the appearance of the female cultivator was simply too beautiful. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that she was so beautiful that she could make the birds fall from the sky, and the birds fall from the sky and put the flowers to shame. If I'm not wrong, she's a bewitching tree in the foggy area. No matter what she looks like, she'll make people think that she's beautiful. But in fact, she looks like a withered tree. Knight Sorrow heard Little Seven's joke and immediately responded. At the same time, he used the Sea Serpent's Eye to observe the other party. Knight Sorrow realized that the other party's clothes had disappeared in an instant. What was exposed was a curvaceous and seductive smooth body. He couldn't help but be speechless. What's going on? Clan M. Chapter 3167. This is my body. Isn't it alluring? Do you like it? At that moment, the enchantment tree's alluring voice was heard. Yi Shang could clearly feel the bewitching aura in her voice. He immediately activated his power of merit and released his golden divine territory to isolate this aura. Don't be afraid. Let's have some fun. Just as Night Sorrow released his divine territory, the enchantment tree twisted her body and walked toward Night Sorrow step by step. Her movements were no different from a real person. In fact, Night Sorrow couldn't see any flaws even with the sea serpent's eye. Little Seven teased. I think this is the battlefield of Slayer of Heaven. Seeing that you're bored from cultivating all year round, it's adding some fun to you. What fun! This enchantment tree is very strange, Xiaofan said in annoyance. Then, he shot a divine finger at the enchanting tree that was walking over. Don't be so serious. Facing Night Sorrow's divine finger, the enchantment tree didn't seem to be angry at all. He said lazily and dodged the attack unhurriedly. Why is she able to dodge my divine finger even though her movements seem slow? Seeing the enchantment tree's movements, Night Sorrow secretly guessed that he might be under an illusion. He felt that if that wasn't the case, he wouldn't be unable to see through her real body. He immediately used his power of merit to purify his body. TSK. TSK. What are you afraid of? This is her real body. Come on, let's have some fun. The woman transformed from the enchanting tree slowed down when she saw the power of virtue radiating from Yishang's body. However, she continued to speak. Dang. After completely purifying his body, Night Sorrow could see that the enchantment tree was still naked, but he could see her movements clearly. The enchantment tree's speed was very fast. It didn't look like she was in a hurry at all. While dodging the divine finger, her face suddenly turned cold and she suddenly let out a banshee-like roar. From the appearance of an extremely alluring woman, she turned into a bloody demon. Then he sneered, since you don't want to do it, then you'll have to do it the hard way. However, he attacked Night Sorrow fiercely. She knew very well that it was impossible for her to defeat Night Sorrow with her illusions and bewitchment techniques. Because his heart was like a boulder, unmoved by the 8 winds. You're the one who gave me the wine. How is that a toast? Facing the enchanting tree that had transformed into an evil demon, Night Sorrow said. Then, he used the golden heavenly halberd and unleashed the mysterious azure divine spear art. This was a series of continuous attacks, and after it was released, it immediately tangled with the enchanting tree. After the battle began, Night Sorrow's fighting spirit was completely aroused. It was as if the more he fought, the braver he became. When the enchanting tree discovered that it could not charm Night Sorrow, it gradually showed that it was lacking in stamina during the battle. Although her illusions and secret techniques were very powerful, making it impossible for others to see through her, her true battle prowess was not very strong. Soon, he was suppressed by Night Sorrow. Then, she used a few more illusions in succession, but they were all seen through. Night Sorrow's merit power was very effective against her illusions. Often, when the enchanting tree used her illusions, he could break them directly. It was very powerful. Both sides fought for about 30 breaths. The enchanting tree, who was at a disadvantage, suddenly shouted, "Stop! I admit defeat!" You can still admit defeat here? Hearing this, Night Sorrow was a little surprised. Just as he was surprised, the enchanting tree suddenly flew down from the arena. Then, Night Sorrow successfully obtained the second bottle of essence. After drinking the essence, Night Sorrow felt that his strength had increased again. He was only one step away from becoming a Middle-earthly sovereign. At this time, his fighting spirit was even stronger. Standing on the arena, he looked down at the cultivators in the foggy area and said, "Who else? I'll do it." As soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking, a stone monster came up from below. After he got on the arena, he did not speak at all. He turned into the shape of a mountain and crushed down on Night Sorrow. His powerful appearance was as if he was going to destroy the world. Good. Maybe you are the key to me becoming an earthly sovereign. Facing the stone spirit, who had turned into a mountain, Night Sorrow looked up to the sky and roared. Then, he used the golden heavenly halberd to attack with the eternal reincarnation spear. This move, when used alone, had the magical effect of confinement. Moreover, it consumed very little energy. Therefore, he liked to use it recently. Boom! After the two collided, both sides retreated. Night Sorrow was almost blasted into the arena. Obviously, he had also encountered a huge force. The enchanting tree obviously relied on illusions and illusions. However, Those were nothing to Night Sorrow. At this time, the stone spirit was an existence that liked to fight head-on. It was completely different from the enchanting tree. Night Sorrow also chose to fight head-on with it. He wanted to fight to his heart's content. You are very strong, but you are no match for me. Facing Night Sorrow's eternal reincarnation spear, the stone spirit was not paralyzed at all. This was because he did not have a heart and was not affected at all. He immediately turned into a huge stone man and kept trampling on Night Sorrow. These attacks looked very clumsy and primitive. However, the pressure that they brought to Night Sorrow was no less than that of the enchanting tree. On the contrary, it was even more terrifying. This was because the hardness of the stone spirit was too high. It was simply beyond what Night Sorrow had seen. At this time, Little Seven suddenly said, "If you integrate the essence of the stone spirit into the golden heavenly halberd, the golden heavenly halberd will definitely become a true heavenly sovereign divine artifact. Moreover, its grade will not be low. I think you should cherish this opportunity." Is that true? Then I should really deal with it properly. Hearing Little Seven's voice transmission, Night Sorrow immediately became spirited. He could indeed feel that the hardness of the stone spirit was extraordinary. It was much stronger than an ordinary lower heavenly sovereign. Of course it's true. Normally, this kind of stone spirit absorbs the essence of heaven and earth and eventually develops spiritual intelligence. It has a wonderful effect when integrated into a divine artifact. Little Seven continued and then reminded him, "But you have to be careful. This kind of stone spirit absorbs the essence of heaven and earth and will not be tired when fighting. In a situation where your strength is about the same, it will be very difficult to defeat it. I'm only worried that this is an environment and the stone spirit is not real." Night Sorrow replied Little Seven confidently. This was because he had already thought of a way to deal with it. No matter what, this stone spirit was a creature of the fog region. It was born with evil and was very violent. Just as Night Sorrow was about to attack again, he directly set up the virtuous trapping array and then continuously sent the power of merit into the array. He let the power of merit remove the evil aura from the stone spirit's body, and prepare to leave only the good aura in it. You want to use your power of merit to purify me? Wishful thinking. But since I was born, I have absorbed all the aura of the fog. There is no good in me at all. The stone spirit could sense Night Sorrow's intention and immediately laughed out loud. At this time, Night Sorrow also laughed and said, "If it is as you say, then it is really perfect." Clan M. Chapter 3168. If it was the same as what the stone spirit said, then after it was purified, it would completely turn into a stone without consciousness. This way, Night Sorrow could totally use it to upgrade the golden heavenly halberd to a heavenly supreme divine artifact. What are you laughing at? Seeing Night Sorrow also laughing, the stone spirit realized that something was wrong. It was different from cultivators. If it lost consciousness, it would completely fall and have no chance of reincarnation. After shouting a question, it struggled frantically. Wanting to struggle now, isn't it a little too late? Seeing the stone spirit struggling non-stop, Night Sorrow continued to increase the strength of the power of virtue, continuously purifying this spirit. And the power of virtue was indeed the nemesis of all demons and monsters. At the later stage, this stone spirit was already going all out, but it was still unable to break through the shackles and was completely purified by Night Sorrow. Golden Heavenly Halberd. It's time for you to advance. After purifying the stone spirit, Night Sorrow threw it into the golden heavenly halberd without any hesitation, letting the golden heavenly halberd absorb it. Before long, the golden heavenly halberd bloomed with a sky-piercing light on the stage. Clearly it was going to advance. Right at this time, countless tribulation clouds drifted over from the void. Following the arrival of the tribulation clouds, the marriage contest stage also disappeared. What replaced it was a dilapidated building complex. It looked like it had already experienced countless years of wind and rain, corroded beyond recognition. Even the spears stabbed into the ground were broken by the cold wind that blew past. Golden Heavenly Halberd, follow me to transcend the tribulation. At this time, Night Sorrow released his divine domain, holding the golden heavenly halberd in the void, waiting for the lightning tribulation to arrive. While waiting, he consumed the essence obtained from defeating the stone spirit. Immediately, his brows furrowed, feeling that he was also ushering in a breakthrough. An instant later, Night Sorrow's lightning tribulation also arrived. Dual lightning tribulations intertwined. The momentum was simply earth-shaking, making mountains and rivers collapse. Dual lightning tribulations descending at the same time. Come at the right time. Just nice, I can use you guys to increase the strength of my body. Holding the golden heavenly halberd, Night Sorrow did not have any intention of cowering in the face of dual lightning tribulations, directly charging into the clouds. He fought frantically. In about an hour, he had successfully defeated the lightning tribulation avatar. After defeating the thunder calamity body, Night Sorrow had become a middle earthly sovereign, while the golden heavenly halberd had officially become a heavenly sovereign divine weapon. Even the faint glow on the spear had changed. It looked much thicker than before. It feels easier than I thought. After overcoming the thunder calamity, Night Sorrow stood in the void with the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. After going through the continuous battles in the Killer Heaven battlefield, he was obviously tired. Therefore, he left the battlefield according to the instructions on the map. He returned to his residence. After returning to his residence, Night Sorrow immediately saw the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and the others. At this time, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's cultivation had increased by a lot compared to when he left. However, he was still a distance away from the peak of the earthly sovereign level. He came out to greet Night Sorrow and continued to cultivate. On the other hand, Bai Mei Sanren's cultivation did not increase much. This made Night Sorrow feel a little apologetic. Therefore, he took out some resources and handed them to Bai Mei Sanren. Brother, I've neglected you since we came to the foggy area. You should absorb more resources and strive to break through to the heavenly sovereign level as soon as possible. As for me, I'll be leaving the Killer Heaven Academy for a period of time. When I return, I'll bring you a lot of resources. Brother Yishang, you're too courteous. I followed you to the foggy area, but I didn't help at all. I've even been consuming your resources. That's not good. Why don't you let me leave the Killer Heaven Academy and explore on my own? Bai Mei Sanren said with some embarrassment. He felt that if he didn't do anything, he would just continue to consume Night Sorrow's resources. This was no different from being a pet. Therefore he could not accept it. After all, he was Night Sorrow's senior. Haha, you don't have to be so polite, brother. It's not time for you to contribute yet. When the war starts in the future, you'll have a chance to fight. For now, we're going to travel at night. We'll secretly increase our strength. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never cared about the gains and losses of resources. He often gave resources to his seniors and juniors. It was the same now. However, at this moment, Bai Mei Sanren said, Brother Night Sorrow, I know that you're a righteous person who doesn't care about resources. But I don't deserve it, and it'll affect my cultivation. So, it's better for you to explore on your own. If I encounter any trouble, I'll find a way to contact you. Upon hearing Bai Mei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow nodded and said, Then brother, try to explore near the Killer Heaven Academy so that we can take care of each other. If we're too far away, we might not be able to contact each other. I won't go too far. A few days ago, I saw on the map that there's a Qianshuang city not far from the Killer Heaven Academy. I'm going to walk around there. Seeing that Night Sorrow had agreed to his request, Bai Mei Sanren immediately told him his destination. This was something that he had thought through long ago. All right. I'll send you there, brother. I need to use the teleportation portal there too. Night Sorrow responded and took out some resources for Bai Mei Sanren again. He handed them to him and said, Brother, you must bring the white jade with you at all times to prevent yourself from losing your mind. I will. Bai Mei Sanren responded and took out some dishes and a few jars of wine to drink with Night Sorrow, Chen Qingyun and his wife. As for the cultivators that Night Sorrow had brought out from the Cloud's Breath Mine, they had been cultivating in seclusion and did not participate. Sigh. I miss my hometown. Now that I think about it, I've left the realm of gods for so long. I wonder how my family is doing. After drinking 2 jars of wine, Night Sorrow thought of his family far away in the realm of gods. Since he was so far away from the realm of gods, he could not sense the condition of his clone and did not know whether his family was doing well or not. He could not help but feel worried. Who doesn't miss home? In this dark, foggy area, facing cultivators all day long with no hope at all, it's quite uncomfortable sometimes. Chen Qingyun, who had also drunk a lot of wine, lamented. The current Yi Shang felt like he was about to soar to the heavens with a single step. However, he and his wife had been stuck at the level of half-step to earthly sovereign. They felt even worse than Bai Mei Sanren. Upon hearing this, Night Sorrow looked at the two of them and said, "Don't worry, I'll find a way to help you find elixirs that can improve your body so that you can continue to increase your strength. I'll find a new goal." He knew how torturous it was for a cultivator to not be able to improve their cultivation. Therefore, he had made up his mind to search for suitable treasures for the two of them on this trip. "Thank you, Brother Night Sorrow. I won't stand on ceremony with you." Chen Qingyun cupped his fists at Night Sorrow. He was looking forward to this trip. The ones who were looking forward to this trip the most were Little 7 and Little 9. They really wanted to reunite with Little 8. Clan M. Chapter 3169. When Little 7 and Night Sorrow first met, Night Sorrow was still very weak and could not withstand a single blow from him. But now, Night Sorrow had advanced to Middle Earthly Sovereign, and his divine weapon, Golden Heavenly Halberd, had also advanced to Heavenly Sovereign. And he and Little 9 were still Earthly Sovereign divine weapons, so he felt very disappointed. Therefore he wanted to quickly reunite with Little 8 and form a Heavenly Sovereign divine weapon, so that his existence would have more meaning. They all knew that Night Sorrow was doing something big to save the eternal supreme world. Brother Night Sorrow, how do you think the half-step to Supreme Realm Coiling Dragon Spear and Supreme Longevity will integrate the eternal supreme world? After following Night Sorrow out of Lu Tian Academy, Bai Mei Sanren asked curiously. "I'm not sure, but I believe that the two seniors will not disappoint." Night Sorrow said, then continued. "Speaking of which, my mission is to kill the holy lords of the four great sanctuaries. If they do not have the determination to protect the eternal supreme world, I don't mind killing one of them. Then, why don't we go back and take a look, then come back?" Bai Mei Sanren was eager to try. He knew that in the foggy area, one's strength would increase faster than in the eternal supreme world. But he wanted to go back and see if Yen had appeared. This was the greatest hope in his heart. After all, he had followed Yen for many years in his previous life. "Since Brother has spoken, after we find Little 8, we will return to the eternal supreme world and take a look. When the situation there is stable, we will bring you back." After hearing Bai Mei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow was also worried about Supreme Longevity, Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, and the others. He knew that as long as they were integrated, there would be battles and killings. If there were battles and killings, there would be deaths. It was very cruel. He wanted to bring Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, and the other friends who had fought with him to the foggy area to cultivate. After all, in the eternal supreme world, the speed of increasing one's strength was too slow and could not keep up with the pace. "Let's go back and take a look. I mainly want to see if Lord Yen has appeared," Bai Mei Sanren said with a smile. He missed her very much. "Good. Let's go and investigate. Also, I want the Supreme Longevity to take a look at the ancient coffin in my space. Although he might not be able to open it, his knowledge will definitely surpass mine." Night Sorrow said and brought Bai Mei Sanren and the rest to Shri City. Using the teleportation formation, he teleported to Tianshuang City and then to Sea Dragon City where Little 8 was. This Sea Dragon City was backed by a black sea of evil. There were many evil sea dragons in the sea. These sea dragons were natives of the foggy region. They were extremely ferocious and warlike. Only in this Sea Dragon City could they live in peace with cultivators and trade with the things in the Sea of Evil. These sea dragons look very similar to true dragons, but their auras are too evil. Their murderous aura is even stronger than that of ordinary cultivators in the foggy region. Walking side by side with Night Sorrow in Sea Dragon City, Bai Mei Sanren felt uncomfortable being suppressed by their auras after encountering a few sea dragons. He could not help but complain. Maybe it's because these sea dragons have been living in the Sea of Evil for a long time. Night Sorrow, who had also checked the sea dragons' auras, said. The auras of these sea dragons were dozens of times more evil than the stone spirits he encountered in the battlefield of Shri City. This meant that these sea dragons were extremely violent and aggressive. Then, he continued, But this is not important. Let's go to the center of the city to look for Little 8. According to the clues provided by Little 9, Little 8 should be in the center of Sea Dragon City. If one paid a fee, they could cultivate there. Therefore, according to Knight Sorrow's judgment, it was not difficult to enter Little 8. If he wanted to merge with Little 7 and Little 9, he only needed to use the power of merit to purify him. However, when Knight Sorrow and the rest came to the center of the city to ask around, they were completely speechless. It turned out that Little 8 had been swapped by the Upper Heavenly Sovereign, the Sea Dragon King, and brought to the Sea of Evil. He had been placed in the City of the Sea of Evil. I wonder if we can go to the City of the Sea of Evil? After inquiring about Little 8, Yi Shang took out some resources and handed them to the cultivator he was holding back before continuing to ask. The cultivator who had been questioned was very impatient, but when he saw that Knight Sorrow had taken out a lot of resources, he immediately smiled and said, "If you want to go to Sea Dragon City to trade, you will have the chance. But you have to go with the team from the city governor's mansion. Otherwise, once you enter, you will be attacked. The Sea Dragon clan has hundreds of thousands of people, and every one of them is very powerful. There is no chance to barge in. Then how can we join the team from the city governor's mansion?" Knight Sorrow asked. He believed that the resources he had given were enough, so the other party would not be impatient immediately. Hearing this, the male cultivator suddenly said, "Don't tell me you are interested in the Eternal Demon Tower? That thing can't be snatched. Otherwise, you will definitely be killed by the sea dragons." "Hee, of course, we don't want to snatch it. We just want to go and take a look. After all, it is the legendary Supreme Divine Artifact," Knight Sorrow said with a look of anticipation. Seeing Knight Sorrow's expression, the male cultivator was speechless. "To tell you the truth, that is only a part of the Eternal Demon Tower. It is not precious at all. If it is really a Supreme Divine Artifact, why would the city governor give it to the Sea Dragon King?" "That's true. I won't look." Knight Sorrow nodded and did not continue to entangle with the male cultivator. Instead, he found another female cultivator and handed over some resources. He asked, "May I know how to join the city governor's mansion?" "If you want to join the city governor's mansion, it is very simple. Just sign up and pass the assessment." After the female cultivator saw the resources in her hand, she immediately led Knight Sorrow and the rest to a building outside the city governor's mansion. At this time, there were cultivators lining up to sign up in the building. Obviously, they all wanted to join the city governor's mansion. "Let's sign up first and enter the city governor's mansion. Let's see if we can follow them into the Sea of Evil." Knight Sorrow sent a message to Bai Mei Sanren and joined him in the queue to sign up. After signing up, the two of them each received a voice transmission stone and found an inn to rest. 3 days later, Knight Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren received a notice to go to the city governor's mansion to participate in the assessment. The assessment was very simple. It was to defeat an ordinary lower earthly sovereign. For Knight Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren, this was not difficult at all. After passing the assessment, the two of them, along with other cultivators who had passed the assessment, were brought to the city governor's mansion's military camp. After entering the military camp, more than 20 cultivators who had just joined were immediately gathered together. Then, the 4 centurions in the military camp appeared one after another and started to select people. Obviously, they were preparing to add them to their own team. Clan. Chapter 3170. Knight Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren were not peak earthly sovereigns. Among the 20 or so newly joined cultivators, their realms were below average. Therefore they were selected later on. Bai Mei Sanren was selected to join a team of centurions called Black Revelation. Then, he was separated from Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow joined a team of centurions called Yun Yi. Their team had lost a lot of members during the battle. After adding Knight Sorrow and 7 other cultivators, they barely made up 100 people. In this team, Centurion Yun Yi was a middle heavenly sovereign. His strength was not bad. As for the Decurions, they were all half-step heavenly sovereigns. There was a certain gap between them and Yun Yi. After Knight Sorrow and the rest were brought back to the station, Yun Yi ordered a Decurion to explain the rules to them. Everyone who joined the city governor's mansion was basically a mercenary. Therefore, They would receive a corresponding reward every time they went to war. On normal days, the city governor's mansion's garrison was mainly responsible for maintaining the stability of Sea Dragon City and the surrounding areas. Occasionally, they would go to eliminate some troublemaking tribes near Sea Dragon City. Another reason was that they would accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil periodically to conduct some transactions. Lord Yunyi, we still have to accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil. Won't we be attacked by the sea dragons there? After Yunyi finished speaking, he asked everyone to ask questions. Knight Sorrow pretended to be puzzled. Don't worry. Although the sea dragons are all very violent, they still abide by some rules. We will accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil mainly to conduct battles and transactions. The few who participate in the battles may be in danger of dying, but the rest will be safe. Centurion Yunyi was quite easygoing. After Knight Sorrow asked his question, he began to explain. After explaining this, he suddenly said, "That's right. Every time we go to the Sea of Evil for a battle, we will select 16 people to fight. Every team of 100 must choose 4 people to fight. This is a mission and also an opportunity. Whoever wins the battle will receive an extremely generous reward. If any of you are interested, you can tell me in advance." Lord Yunyi, when will we go to the Sea of Evil? What's the reward for fighting the sea dragon? This time, Knight Sorrow didn't continue speaking, but a new cultivator asked. They were different from Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow's goal was to search for the 8th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, while they were all here for resources. Naturally, he was very interested in such matters. City Lord, we go to the Sea of Evil once every 100 years. There are still 40 years before the next trip. After Centurion Yunyi finished speaking, he continued, "The rules of the battle are like this. No matter what level of cultivation we send out, the Sea of Evil will send out a sea dragon of the same level. Generally speaking, sea dragons of the same realm are stronger than us. Therefore, the City Lord's mansion's winning rate every year was not high. Only about 20% to 30%. Thus, the City Lord will not only reward cultivators with large amounts of resources, but will also place them in important positions." After he finished speaking, he added, "Even if you are defeated in a duel, as long as you are not killed, you will be heavily groomed when you return. To encourage everyone to participate in the battle against the sea dragon. It seems that the sea dragon is not easy to deal with." After Centurion Yunyi finished speaking, the new cultivators began to whisper among themselves. Since they were all mercenaries, there weren't many rules. Yunyi was very easygoing and didn't interrupt them. After they finished their discussion, he explained to them what they needed to do on a daily basis. Then, he assigned them to a decurion who was short of manpower. B*****. Why did he assign me a middle earthly sovereign this time? What is Lord Yunyi thinking? I have always been filial to him on a daily basis. After Knight Sorrow was assigned to a decurion called War Demon, he reported to the City Lord. The decurion, War Demon, who was drinking in the barracks, immediately said unhappily. Then, he ignored Knight Sorrow and continued to drink with his 3 subordinates. After waiting for about an hour, they were still drinking. Knight Sorrow asked with a smile, "Decurion, I am here. Are you going to accept me or not?" B*****. We are drinking, you don't have the chance to talk nonsense. Slap yourself, or else I'll tear your head apart. War Demon immediately roared when he heard Knight Sorrow's words. Knight Sorrow was immediately angered by his words. He sneered and said, "What do you mean by slap myself? I don't understand. Why don't you demonstrate?" The other party was refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Yi Shang felt that there was no need to be polite with such a person. "Oh my! You trash! You have quite a temper. Jia Mao, go and destroy his Dantian." After Knight Sorrow spoke, War Demon immediately looked at a cultivator beside him. "Lord War Demon, Lord Yunyi just sent him here. It's not good to destroy him directly, is it?" Jia Mao said hesitantly after War Demon finished speaking. He was an upper earthly sovereign and was confident in his own strength, but he was afraid of offending Yunyi. "Humph. Lord Yunyi, I don't care about such things. Go ahead and do it. Even if something happens, I will take care of it," War Demon said indifferently. He knew that Yun Yi was a good person who wouldn't offend anyone. Okay. Since Lord War Demon has said so, I will take action. Jia Mao replied, then looked at Night Sorrow and said, "What an arrogant newcomer. The price you will pay for your arrogance is your Dantian being destroyed. According to Lord Yun Yi, joining the City Lord Mansion is just a mercenary. You want to destroy him just because of a disagreement? How ruthless." Night Sorrow looked at Jia Mao with disdain. To him, fighting a lower heavenly sovereign was a piece of cake, let alone an upper earthly sovereign. Looking at Jia Mao's confident look, he wanted to laugh. Ha ha ha. You are really a rookie. In this foggy area, there are fights everywhere. Where there are fights, there are casualties. What is this? Dang. Jia Mao, who was laughing, drank to the point. Even though he was speaking from a distance, the smell of alcohol could be felt. It made people feel nauseous. He roared and threw a punch at Night Sorrow. This punch was not a threat to Yi Shang, but even an ordinary middle earthly sovereign would be able to withstand it. Therefore, Night Sorrow casually threw a punch and sent him flying back. Bastard! How dare you fight back? Jia Mao, who had been thrown back, felt some injuries in his body. In his anger, he was half sober. He then took out a light sword and said, "Do you dare to fight with me outside? I don't want to break this barack." "No need. You don't have that ability." Facing Night Sorrow, who was facing Jia Mao, he snorted coldly in response. Hearing this, Jia Mao was furious and said, "Arrogant." Dang. He immediately displayed his unique skill in the barack. All-directional quaking sword. Clang. Chapter 3171. When Jia Mao executed the Shifang Domain Quake Sword, it immediately stirred up a huge commotion in the barracks. Logically speaking, under such a situation, the barracks would definitely be destroyed. No matter how sturdy the barracks were, it was still used for living. It couldn't be as sturdy as a divine weapon. However, right after he made his move, Night Sorrow immediately struck with the Eternal Reincarnation Spear. As soon as this move was executed, Jia Mao, who wasn't very strong to begin with, was immediately fixed on the spot. The move that he was halfway through immediately vanished into thin air. "I told you not to go out." Night Sorrow, who had casually suppressed the aftermath of Jia Mao's attack, said coldly after capturing him. "You." Jia Mao had never thought that he would be captured in one move. He felt that it was because he had been careless. He was very unconvinced, but he couldn't find an excuse to say something. "So you're an expert who can fight above your level." The war demon, who had been drinking wine, immediately became interested when he saw Night Sorrow defeat Jia Mao so easily. He said, "Very good. I, the war demon, lack someone like you under my command. Let go of Jia Mao. You're my man from now on." "Who are you calling me your father with? If I remember correctly, you were the one who wanted to destroy my Dantian." The war demon, who was a Decurion, wanted to reconcile. However, Night Sorrow didn't indulge him at all. He coldly retorted, "What? I gave you face, but you don't know what's good for you?" After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the war demon immediately stood up and said furiously, "Since you want your Dantian to be destroyed, come on then." As he spoke, he gave a look to his left and right, signaling the two people beside him to attack together. It seems that this barracks is destined to be destroyed today. Night Sorrow, who was looking at the war demon and the other two cultivators, released his spirit power and scanned the surroundings. If they started fighting now, Centurion Yun Yi would definitely be alerted. He didn't think there was anything wrong with that. Then, he faced the war devil and the others and started to fight them. Although Night Sorrow was only a middle earthly sovereign, he could already fight with a heavenly sovereign. As such, War Demon, a half-step heavenly sovereign, and the other two upper earthly sovereigns were naturally no match for him. Not long after that, he defeated the War Devil and the others. After being controlled, the War Devil and the others sobered up and realized the severity of the situation. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Yun Yi, asking him to take charge of the situation. But Yi Shang didn't kill them because he knew that Yun Yi was watching the battle in front of him. "War Demon, what's going on with you guys?" Yun Yi asked gloomily as he hovered in the air. He was usually very easygoing, but at this moment, he was somewhat dignified. Reporting to Centurion, this newcomer challenged us as soon as he was assigned here. We couldn't bear to be humiliated, so we fought with him. I didn't expect that I would be no match for him. After Yun Yi said that, the war devil twisted his words and forced logic. Night demon, is that what happened? Upon hearing the war demon's words, Yun Yi immediately looked at Night Sorrow. If you're weak, you'll be beaten. Night Sorrow didn't explain the matter. Instead, he said casually, "Haha, good. Well said, the cause and effect of this matter isn't important. What's important is whose fist is harder." Upon hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yun Yi smiled. Since the Night Demon won, he'll be the Centurion from now on. As for the War Devil, he'll serve him in the future. As for how the matter between you two will be resolved, I don't care. After saying that, he flew away, no longer caring about the matter. However, Yun Yi didn't fly far before he sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Demon. You must go to the Sea of Evil in a few decades. If you can defeat the Sea Dragon, you'll be rewarded handsomely. All right, I'll think about it. Night Sorrow replied to Yun Yi. Then, he looked at the War Devil and the others and said, "Summon all my subordinates." Yes. The War Devil was stunned at first. Then, he somewhat reluctantly summoned his subordinates. However, he knew that everyone, including himself, would be Night Sorrow's subordinates in the future. He couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He secretly lamented that he had been too rash today. From today onwards, I'll be your Centurion. After the War Devil gathered everyone, Night Sorrow immediately made them stand in a row and announced. Regarding this matter, these people had already received the voice transmission. Therefore, none of them showed any surprise. Seeing that no one had any intention of refuting, Night Sorrow looked at the War Devil and said, "From now on, the War Devil will be our team's vice-captain. The daily affairs will be arranged by the War Devil." "Thank you, Captain." When the War Devil heard this arrangement, he immediately became spirited. Then Night Sorrow continued, "Arrange a place for me to stay. If there's nothing else, don't disturb my cultivation. Also, I have a friend called White Brows. He's been assigned to Centurion Black Flag subordinate. Help me find out more about him." "Captain, leave this matter to me. I'm very popular, and I know people over there." As soon as Yi Shang finished speaking, the War Devil immediately patted its chest and bowed to Yi Shang. What a coward who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Although Night Sorrow despised such an existence, he understood that some of the daily affairs still needed the other party to handle. Therefore, he didn't bother too much about today's matter. Then, he was brought to his residence by the War Devil. This was a group of courtyards that occupied an area of 100,000 miles. There were mountains and rivers, as well as some ferocious beasts. These ferocious beasts looked very ferocious on the surface, but like domestic dogs, they were used to guard the courtyard. When Night Sorrow took over this courtyard, they also began to pledge their loyalty to him. In the next few months, Night Sorrow had been cultivating in the courtyard, absorbing all kinds of resources. The daily affairs were left to the War Devil to handle. As for Bai Mei Sanren, the War Devil had already inquired about him and had followed a Centurion to fight. Until a year after Night Sorrow had joined the City Lord's mansion, the War Devil suddenly came to his courtyard. He said urgently, "Lord Night Devil, a month ago, I led a small team to carry out a mission. But we encountered a strong enemy, and I was the only one who escaped. Please go and rescue them, Lord." "Oh, how many enemies? What's their strength?" The moment the War Devil said this, Night Sorrow was somewhat suspicious. He wondered if the War Devil was setting him up. However, after the War Devil told him everything and swore a heavenly oath, he was completely sure that the other party was not lying. The situation was like this. The War Devil led a small team to carry out a mission, and everything was going smoothly. But after completing the City Lord's mansion's mission, they unexpectedly encountered a sea dragon in the wilderness. This sea dragon was in the same realm as the War Devil, but its strength was obviously much stronger than his. When they fought, it quickly gained the upper hand. "I'll go with you to rescue them." After hearing the story, he immediately said, "Clan." Chapter 3172. How much time has passed since you escaped from the battlefield? Is your opponent that sea dragon? After leaving the governor's mansion, Knight Sorrow asked. He felt that if it was just a half-step heavenly sovereign sea dragon, he could defeat all 9 of his subordinates. This kind of strength was a little too strong. Reporting to my lord, less than 4 hours have passed. Our opponent is indeed one person. He seems to be a royal of the Sea Dragon clan. He is very powerful. If he goes up against us, it will be like you going up against Jia Mao. The war demon explained, then continued. However, if my lord and I fight together, he will definitely not be our match. All right. Since you said so, I have a certain understanding of his strength. However, you may not be able to find out his true strength. Yi Shang didn't say anything else and let the war demon lead the way. When Knight Sorrow and the war demon arrived, they found that Sea Dragon had not left at all. He was torturing Knight Sorrow's subordinates. The 8 defeated cultivators all had their cultivations sealed. They knelt on the ground, kowtowing non-stop. Sea Dragon, who had transformed into a human, was saying something with a look of disdain. When Knight Sorrow had discovered him, he had not sensed Knight Sorrow at all. However, when the war demon reached a position where he could observe Sea Dragon, he immediately recognized Sea Dragon. Sea Dragon immediately discovered Knight Sorrow and the war demon. Seeing that the war demon had only brought along a middle earthly sovereign, Knight Sorrow, Sea Dragon Ao Lai immediately laughed arrogantly. Ha ha ha! I thought you would bring some reinforcements. It turns out that you are a middle earthly sovereign. Your brain wasn't fried by my attack just now, right? His brain shouldn't have been fried. What should have been fried is your mouth. These subordinates in front of him did not have much interaction with Knight Sorrow, and Knight Sorrow did not want to have a deep relationship with them either. However, when he saw that they were forced to kowtow to Sea Dragon in front of him, an inexplicable anger rose in his chest. As the saying goes, one should not go too far when killing someone. This Sea Dragon in front of him had gone too far. Humph. My reinforcements are quite confident. You dare to scold this prince? Let's see how many heads you have for me to cut off. Sea Dragon Ao Lai was extremely arrogant. After being reprimanded by Knight Sorrow, he immediately flew into a rage. You want to kill me? I'm afraid you don't have that ability. Facing the Knight Sorrow of the Sea Dragon, Ao Lai, he didn't think much of him. This was because Ao Lai looked like a half-step heavenly sovereign. According to his estimation, he shouldn't be that strong. Haha. Domineering. I like cultivators like you. When the time comes, I will make your head into a wine cup and use it to drink your blood. At this moment, Sea Dragon Ao Lai wasn't angry. Instead, he laughed. Then, he used his dragon claw to grab Knight Sorrow, who was in the air. My lord, you must be careful. This sea dragon was a member of the royal family and was not easy to deal with. Even if you can defeat him, you must remember not to kill him. Otherwise, we'll be in big trouble. Seeing that Knight Sorrow was about to fight the sea dragon, the war demon immediately warned him. The sea dragon Ao Lai had just addressed him as prince, which meant that he was the Sea Dragon King's prince. If he killed him, the Sea Dragon King would definitely be enraged. At that time, the entire Sea Dragon City would be attacked. Don't worry. I'm confident that I can take care of him. Knight Sorrow replied to the war demon. Then, he opened the Sea Dragon's eye and observed Ao Lai's attack. Ao Lai's claw looked simple, but it contained some mysterious runes. One look and one could tell that it wasn't simple. If it was a normal attack, it would be a huge mistake. It could be seen that the Sea Dragon Ao Lai, who looked arrogant on the surface, had no intention of underestimating Knight Sorrow when facing an enemy. Good move. However, this claw is nothing to me at all. Knight Sorrow shouted as he faced Ao Lai's attack and threw out a punch. This punch contained a Dao that was similar to the Divine Finger. When it collided with the Sea Dragon Ao Lai's claw, the surrounding space was immediately destroyed. The shock waves from the collision sent the kneeling cultivators flying. One could see how powerful it was. Looks like he had his reasons for asking you to come here. You're a good target for practice. When Sea Dragon Ao Lai saw the might of Knight Sorrow's punch, he immediately laughed. I'm afraid you'll regret asking me to practice. Because after this battle, your confidence will be completely shattered. Seeing that the sea dragon Aolai still didn't think much of him, Knight Sorrow immediately mocked him back. However, he also knew that the other party was the Sea Dragon King's son. He must have many tricks up his sleeve. Therefore, he didn't have the slightest bit of carelessness. You want to shatter my confidence? First, you'll have to ask if the divine weapon in my hand agrees. When the Sea Dragon Aolai heard Knight Sorrow's words, he immediately took out a halberd and stood in the air. A heavenly supreme level halberd. The war demon exclaimed when he saw the Sea Dragon Aolai take out a heavenly supreme level halberd. He was extremely worried about Knight Sorrow's situation. Although Knight Sorrow had dealt with him before, they were now on the same side. Isn't it just a divine weapon? Which cultivator doesn't have a few? Seeing the Sea Dragon Aolai take out a heavenly supreme level halberd, Knight Sorrow immediately took out his golden heavenly halberd. At the same time, he activated the Green Phoenix battle armor. These two items were both heavenly supreme level, and their grades were slightly higher than Aolai's Black Dragon halberd. Seeing these items, the Sea Dragon Aolai felt like he had been slapped in the face. He sneered and said, "Good, very good. All of your divine artifacts belong to me." After roaring, the Sea Dragon Aolai waved his halberd and slashed at Knight Sorrow. "You, a dragon, are using a halberd to fight against me? Where did you get your confidence from? Show me your true form." Facing the Sea Dragon Aolai's halberd, Knight Sorrow, who was waving his golden heavenly halberd, didn't use any of his ultimate techniques and easily repelled it. In terms of strength, he had the complete advantage. Although the Sea Dragon Aolai's combat strength was not bad, and he was one of the best among those of the same level. However, facing a monster like Knight Sorrow who could easily fight those of a higher level, he was nothing. You asked for it. After using the Black Dragon halberd to fight with Knight Sorrow for a while, the Sea Dragon Aolai was indeed no match for Knight Sorrow with his halberd. Suddenly, he transformed into a black dragon that was hundreds of feet long, and he suddenly spat out a black dragon breath at Knight Sorrow. "Sir, be careful. This is the Sea Dragon's unique black dragon breath. It is filled with an extremely evil aura of resentment. If you are hit by it, you will be filled with resentment." Seeing the Sea Dragon Aolai's breath, the war demon reminded him while dodging. "Okay, I got it," replied Knight Sorrow. He felt that the war demon was still reliable. Then, he controlled the Green Phoenix battle armor and aimed it at the black dragon breath, spitting out fire essence. At the same time, he used the golden heavenly halberd to unleash the Raging Flames Demon Slayer. Facing the Sea Dragon Aolai, he didn't have any intention of dodging. He chose to take all of them head-on. Clank. Chapter 3173. Ignorant. How dare you use your ordinary fire to attack my black dragon's breath? Just wait for my wrath to engulf you. Aolai felt that Knight Sorrow was too arrogant and overconfident when he saw that Knight Sorrow had chosen to fight him head-on. His black dragon's breath was a unique skill of the evil sea dragons. It was extremely powerful. Your black dragon's breath is not as powerful as you think it is. Knight Sorrow, who had chosen to fight him head-on, was still very confident. According to his judgment, the Flame Mountain's flame essence should not be inferior to Aolai's black dragon's breath. After all, it had a trace of destructive aura. Although Knight Sorrow did not like Mia, his opponent was still an extreme state expert. Asterisk boom. Boom. Asterisk when the flame essence and fiery demon subduing flames came into contact with the black dragon's breath, there was a deafening explosion. Wave after wave of rumbling sounds were simply earth-shattering. After the flames had completely subsided, Aolai was dumbfounded when he saw that both sides had ended in a draw. He didn't expect that his innate unique skill would be blocked so easily. Even his confidence was shaken a little. "You have some skills, but I will kill you today." At this moment, Aolai let out a loud roar and took out a dragon horn from his spatial artifact. He held it in his hand and blew. Then, the dragon horn suddenly made a very strange sound. Hearing this sound, the war demon and the rest immediately hugged their heads and wailed. Knight Sorrow was also very uncomfortable. Although he did not say anything, he felt like his head was about to explode. "All of you, enter my space grotto heaven." Seeing that his subordinates were basically lying on the ground and wailing in pain, Night Sorrow immediately shouted and kept them in his space grotto heaven. At this time, he had tried a few methods, but he still could not break the attack of the dragon horn. Night Sorrow thought to himself, "Looks like it. Only by killing him or taking him down can I solve this problem." Thus, he endured the pain and activated the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique again. At the same time, he activated the Green Phoenix battle armor and his bloodline power. Holding the golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he attacked Ao Lai with the godly spear. "You want to kill me in an instant to break the attack of the dragon horn? Wishful thinking. Do you think you can kill me so easily?" Sea Dragon Ao Lai was no fool. He immediately saw through Night Sorrow's intentions. Facing Night Sorrow's attack, he suddenly took out a turtle shell from his spatial artifact and draped it over his body. Even though the attack hadn't reached him, Night Sorrow could feel that Ao Lai's defense had increased by more than 10 times. He has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. However, his strength is still a little lacking. When Night Sorrow saw Ao Lai summon his tortoise shell, he sneered and cast the Divine Origin trapping formation. It would bind the other party within, making it impossible for him to escape. Then, he used the godly spear and fiercely bombarded the defensive layer provided by the turtle shell. After all, Night Sorrow had the advantage in terms of strength. The golden heavenly halberd was a pure heavenly sovereign divine artifact. Furthermore, the divine spear's attack was extremely powerful. It immediately blasted a crack through the tortoise shell's defense. Soon after, he violently bombarded the crack. Under Night Sorrow's continuous attacks, Ao Lai's tortoise shell quickly dimmed. He completely realized that Night Sorrow's strength was obviously stronger than he had imagined. In terms of strength, he was indeed no match for him. As for the War Demon and the others, who were in Night Sorrow's space paradise, they were very excited. They felt that Night Sorrow had helped them vent their anger. They were completely in awe of his strength. "I have to admit that your strength is far beyond my imagination. However, the one who will die today is still you. Because you don't have what it takes to compete with me." Sea Dragon Ao Lai roared as he took out another dragon horn and blew on it again. This time, the dragon horn was no longer an attack. Instead, it summoned an army of thousands of men and horses. These creatures should have come from the Sea of Evil. Among them, there was one lower heavenly sovereign and 3 half-step heavenly sovereigns. As for earthly sovereigns, there were about 30 of them. "My lord, if we can't win, let's escape immediately." When the War Demon in the space paradise saw Ao Lai summon so many helpers, he immediately transmitted his voice to him. Yishan replied, "There's no rush. Let's see what they're capable of. If we can't win, it won't be too late to leave. Retreating before fighting is not my style." Alright. My lord, be careful." Hearing this, the War Demon did not say anything else. Facing the sea tribe that Ao Lai had summoned, Night Sorrow did not retreat immediately. Instead, he adjusted his strength to the maximum and used the mysterious Azure Divine Spear technique to attack them directly. He first dealt with the earthly sovereigns of the sea tribe. In the face of his attack, the earthly sovereigns of the sea tribe were not even worth mentioning. Soon they were all annihilated. Ao Lai and the others wanted to protect the earthly sovereigns, but they were unable to do so. Seeing Night Sorrow kill so many of the sea tribe in front of them, Ao Lai was furious. Sea Dragon Ao Lai was completely enraged. He roared, "Kill! Let's attack together and kill him. Use your strongest techniques." "Yes." Ninth Prince. The summoned heavenly sovereigns and the other 3 half-step heavenly sovereigns responded. They immediately prepared to attack. "Not good. Sir, retreat quickly." They are using the superpower that the Sea Dragon clan obtained from the Eternal Sovereign Realm. The War Demon reminded them again. He knew that Ao Lai and the others were using the territorial superpower that they had obtained from the Eternal Sovereign Realm. The Eternal Sovereign Realm's superpower? Hearing this, Night Sorrow did not have any intention of escaping. Instead, he became more interested. To him, the territorial superpower was very tempting. The thought of capturing one rose in his heart and learning the divine ability. Green Dragon illuminating the moon. At this moment, Ao Lai and the others roared in unison. The 5 of them simultaneously used the Green Dragon territory's superpower, Green Dragon illuminating the moon. In an instant, They all transformed into green dragons and attacked Night Sorrow. They are actually learning the Eternal Sovereign Realm's superpower? Ridiculous! Originally, Night Sorrow was still a little afraid of their superpower. But now, he saw Aolai and the others transform into green dragons and attack him. He immediately understood that these creatures in the fog could not unleash the full power of their superpower. This must have something to do with their dark aura. It's good that I can kill you. In the face of Night Sorrow's mockery, Aolai roared and attacked Night Sorrow with the other cultivators who had transformed into green dragons. Want to kill me? You are not qualified. At this moment, Night Sorrow was only a little afraid of Aolai and the Heavenly Sovereign. As for the other 3 half-step Heavenly Sovereigns, he did not care at all. This was because ordinary half-step Heavenly Sovereigns could not withstand a single blow from him. After replying, he waved the golden heavenly halberd in his hand and fought with the dragons in the void. Clang! Chapter 3174. This Azure Dragon illuminating the moon was the ability of the Azure Dragon territory, and most of the people in the Azure Dragon territory were pure-blooded Azure Dragons. The sea dragons in front of him obviously did not use their strongest strength. However, these 5 dragons were still very strong when they joined forces. After Night Sorrow killed one of them, he felt that if the stalemate continued, he would need to use the power of merit. Therefore, after fighting for a while, he had the intention to leave. He felt that there was no need to expose his identity because of these dragons. After all, this place was very close to Sea Dragon City. If he attacked rashly, he might be noticed by the Sea Dragon City Lord. If his identity as an Eternal Supreme Realm expert was exposed, he would lose a lot for a small gain. Now is the time. We can leave now. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow took the opportunity to use his movement technique to leave after injuring Aolai. His speed was faster than the few people in front of him, and he soon escaped far away. Escape? Where can you escape to? Seeing that Yishan had chosen to flee, Aolai instantly revealed a trace of a cold smile between his brows. After flying for about 20 breaths, Night Sorrow, who had opened the Sea Dragon Eye, suddenly found that there were 2 Sky Supreme Sea Dragons intercepting him on the way to Sea Dragon City. He immediately changed direction and flew in another direction. Sir, quickly send a voice transmission to Sir Yun Yi and ask him to bring reinforcements. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to escape today. The war demon in the space grotto heaven immediately sent a voice transmission in fear when he saw 2 more Sky Supreme Sea Dragons. No need for reinforcements. We can deal with these people in front of us. Night Sorrow, who was being chased, saw that these sea dragons were chasing him relentlessly and understood that they were prepared to kill him. He immediately became angry. He thought to himself, "You asked for it." Then, he ignited his bloodline and increased his speed again. As Night Sorrow increased his speed and fled for a distance, Sea Dragon Aolai's ability was up and he turned back into a sea dragon. This caused their speed to drop a little. At this moment, Aolai ordered, "Ignite your bloodline, increase. We can't let him escape, or else we won't have any face left." Yes. 9th Prince. The rest of them immediately burned their speed and chased after him. As for the 2 half-step Heavenly Sovereigns, one of the Heavenly Sovereigns had taken them into the space and was now chasing after them. "I'm afraid you won't chase after me." Yishan looked at the dragons that were chasing after him and instantly had a plan in his heart. After escaping into a mountain shrouded in mist, he set up an illusion array in the mountain. He had set up this illusion array because it was easy to set up. He wanted to use it to trap Aolai and the others. Then, he would use the time to set up the 5 bulls formation and use it to deal with them. They wouldn't be stupid enough to enter the array together, would they? Upon seeing Night Sorrow setting up an illusion array, Little Seven immediately sent a voice transmission. "You think too highly of them. To these bloodthirsty sea dragons, they only want to kill me. How can they think of anything else?" Night Sorrow said with a smile. He was waiting for Aolai and the other sea dragons to tire him out. As for Aolai and the others, they were not too far away from him. After about 10 breaths of time, they caught up. Just as Night Sorrow had expected, after they caught up, they did not even think and directly attacked Night Sorrow. Perhaps it was because in their eyes, Yi Sorrow was only one person, and he wasn't a threat at all. It was impossible for him to be a threat to them. However, in less than 10 breaths of time, they regretted it. This was because after attacking Night Sorrow, they found themselves completely trapped in an illusion. These sea dragons clearly knew that they were trapped in an illusion, but they had no way to break free and were completely trapped. They could only rely on brute force to break the array. However, Aolai and the others were still quite strong. With the help of the divine weapons, they quickly shook the array. It would not be long before they could escape. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow secretly used some of his power of merit to strengthen the array. At the same time, he quickly set up the 5 bulls formation. In about 2 hours, the complete 5 bulls array was set up by Night Sorrow. At this moment, he secretly withdrew his power of merit and walked into the array again. Interesting. You used an array to trap us, but you didn't choose to escape. Seeing that Night Sorrow actually chose to enter the array, Aolai immediately sneered. The other sea dragons were in a very arrogant state. They looked like hounds that had been locked up for a long time. You're still the interesting one. If I didn't have the confidence to deal with you, how could I appear? All of you wait for death. If you don't take out some heaven-defying methods, you will all die here today. Night Sorrow roared and silently chanted the incantation, activating the 5 bulls array. Moo! Me! Ma! And I! Roar! After the 5 bulls array was activated, it immediately let out an earth-shattering roar. Under the attack of this roar, Aolai and the other sea dragons immediately realized that something was wrong. Although Night Sorrow was not much weaker than them in terms of strength, the power of the array formation he set up was truly too great. Although they could still withstand it for the time being, if Night Sorrow attacked, they definitely had no chance of winning. Now you know the meaning of not chasing a cornered enemy. Seeing that Aolai and the others were affected by the 5 bulls array, Night Sorrow once again took out the golden heavenly halberd and completely exploded. Under his fierce attack, Aolai and the others quickly lost the ability to resist. At this moment, while the war demon was shocked, he couldn't help but remind, "My lord, you can kill the other sea dragons, but you can't kill Aolai. If you kill him, the Sea Dragon King will definitely look for your whereabouts." The Sea Dragon King has the strength of an upper heavenly sovereign and can advance to half-step to the supreme realm at any time. He's definitely not someone you can fight against. How can you be sure that the Sea Dragon King can find me? Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. He didn't know much about the methods of the Sea Dragon clan. "My lord, as long as you kill the royal family of the Sea Dragon clan, a mark will appear on your body. With this mark, no matter where you escape, the Sea Dragon King will track you down." The war demon, who understood the Sea Dragon clan better, explained word by word. I got it. Hearing this, Night Sorrow felt that this sea dragon Aolai really couldn't be killed casually. Therefore, after killing all the other sea dragons, Night Sorrow kept Aolai in his own space grotto heaven. He said, "If you don't want to be tortured, use resources or divine weapons to buy your own life. Hee. You don't dare to kill me at all. Otherwise, my father won't let you off." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Aolai immediately said indifferently, "For now I can't kill you, but I have many methods to deal with you." After saying that, Night Sorrow summoned Aolai and threw him into the 5 bulls formation. He then used the formation to attack Aolai again. For a moment, Aolai's divine soul trembled violently. It looked like he was about to die at any time. Clan M. Chapter 3175. Do you think I, the royal family of the Sea of Evil, will be afraid of your torture? You want me to compromise? Dream on. Aolai, who was being attacked by the 5 bull formation, was still stubborn. He knew that Night Sorrow did not dare to kill him directly, so he had no fear in his heart. As for the pain his soul suffered, although it was unbearable, he felt that he could endure it. After all, the Sea Dragon Emperor originally had tens of thousands of children. After going through thousands of hardships, only 9 sons and 3 daughters had grown up. These princes and princesses had all gone through cruel trials. Not only were their combat strength strong, but their willpower was also very strong. If you feel better, then continue to enjoy it. I won't kill you, but I won't let you go either. Prepare to be accompanied by pain for the rest of your life. Night Sorrow saw that Ao Lai's willpower was very tenacious, so he did not intend to continue torturing him. In fact, he knew many methods, but using them to torture his opponent was not his style. Sir, I have a way to deal with him. Seeing that Night Sorrow did not want to continue torturing Ao Lai, the war demon was a little stunned. Then it transmitted its voice. Oh, what do you think? Night Sorrow looked at the war demon as he kept Ao Lai in his space grotto heaven. The truth is like this. Because the sea dragon race is very warlike, they usually fight with us countless times. Later, the Sea Dragon King and the City Lord established diplomatic relations. In order to prevent important people from both sides from dying, they made a rule. That is, if important people from both sides are captured, they can exchange resources with the other side through the City Lord or the Sea Dragon King. The war demon explained and continued, although most of the resources will belong to the City Lord, if you hand over the 9th prince, you will definitely receive the City Lord's appreciation. It's not a loss. That works too. There's no use in keeping him. It's better to sell him as a piglet. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He felt that this was a reasonable way to deal with Ao Lai in front of him. After all, this guy could not be killed for the time being, and he was not afraid of pain. Under such circumstances, they could make an exchange with the City Lord to make him lose face and exchange for resources. No matter how stingy the City Lord, who he had never met, was, he would not refuse to give him anything. However, if you want to see the City Lord, you have to go through Lord Yunyi. This is the rule of Sea Dragon City. The war demon continued. It realized that Night Sorrow didn't know anything about the surrounding area, so it began to explain the situation to him. Today, the war devil was very grateful that Night Sorrow had saved them. At this moment, the other 8 people in Night Sorrow's grotto heaven were so grateful that they prostrated themselves on the ground. If it weren't for Night Sorrow today, these small fries would have become Ao Lai's food. There's no need to rush. Let's go back to the barracks and treat our brothers first. After deciding what to do, Night Sorrow was no longer in a hurry. After returning to the barracks, he used all kinds of resources to save all 8 of his subordinates. After these people recovered, they all knelt in front of Night Sorrow and said gratefully, "Thank you, sir, for giving us a new lease on life. We are willing to sacrifice our lives for sir in the future." "You're welcome. I'm a Decurion, your leader. It's my duty to save you. If there's nothing else, you can go back and rest. Don't go out to do missions today. Rest well for a while. War Demon, stay." Yi Shang looked at them. He could understand how grateful these people were that they were lucky enough to survive. After all, it wasn't easy for every cultivator to cultivate to the Earth Sovereign level. No one was willing to sacrifice their lives. "Sir, are we going to see Lord Yunyi now?" The war demon asked immediately. After today's battle, the war demon admired Night Sorrow very much. He felt that following him would definitely have a bright future. He was practically at his beck and call. "Yes, I hope to see the City Lord through Lord Yunyi," Night Sorrow said, then continued. "Lead the way. You're more familiar with the City Lord's mansion than I am." "All right, sir. Please follow me to Lord Yunye's residence." The war demon was like an ancient eunuch. He nodded and bowed as he led the way. When they arrived outside Yunye's courtyard, he immediately went up to report. When he found out that it was Decurion Night Sorrow, Yunyi immediately ordered people to bring them in. However, when they reached the door of the study, the war demon was left behind. Only Night Sorrow was invited in. When Night Sorrow entered Yunye's study, he found that Yunyi was writing. After observing for a while, Night Sorrow found that Yunyi was writing, "Can the heavens be reversed? Can the heavens be reversed?" Night Sorrow looked and found that Yunye's murderous aura was much smaller than the average person's. Relatively speaking, he was more refined in the misty area. He wasn't like the others, who were full of murderous aura and looked like a battle maniac. "Yes. Can the heavens be reversed? Night Demon, can you see anything?" Night Sorrow stared at Yunye's words and asked. In fact, he had seen these words on a copybook. The copybook came from the Eternal Supreme Realm. It was obvious that it was written by a big shot. However, Yunyi had scrutinized it countless times and couldn't see the meaning behind it. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, "On the surface, the meaning is naturally to ask if the heavens can be reversed. But in reality, I'm afraid that if I see the original, I can still discern a thing or two. He could already see that these words weren't written by Yun Yi. Yun Yi immediately perked up. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Demon, you have good eyes. Then, do you want to take a look at the original? See if you can see what it contains." Someone with such boldness must be a big shot. The secret it contains is definitely not simple. It's not good whether I can see through it or not. Forget it. Night Sorrow said with a smile and continued, "Actually, Lord Yun Yi, the purpose of my trip is to meet the City Lord through you." Why do you want to meet the City Lord? When Yun Yi heard this, he immediately shifted his thoughts away from the copybook. It's like this. A few days ago, my subordinates bumped into the Sea Dragon King's 9th Prince Ao Lai. After a fierce battle, I captured this 9th Prince Ao Lai together. Because I didn't dare to kill him, I wanted the City Lord to use him to exchange for resources. Night Sorrow recounted the matter truthfully. 9th Prince Ao Lai? Are you sure? Hearing this, Yun Yi immediately perked up. Of course I'm sure. How could Night Demon joke about this kind of thing? Night Sorrow promised. Ha ha ha. That's great, that's great. Yun Yi laughed out loud. Clan M. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.